Ride for a real one, yeah. Slide on a real one. On my mama and God, you the real thing. Can't even capture me, know you feel something. Yeah, you wanted a million and you show it. What you want, is it really that important? You've been on my mind and I really can't ignore it. Little baby, you a 10. When I'm in it, I got you going, oh. I can't even help it. I don't think I want to. Know that I've been on you. Ooh, tell me that you want it. Little baby, you a 10. Can I run it back again? Laid up, we paid up and faded on top of it. Ain't really used to this, I ain't ever has. From the bare minimum, we doing lavish. I was down bad, really acting like I had it. You seen right through it, knew I was catting up. Still let me hit it till you cashed out, it had enough. Lately, been adding up. What you want, I'm activated. Way you looking at me with the minds, hella captivated. Know you had you a long day, you agitated. I can get you off no medication, have you elevated. Can't fix the world, but I bet I fix that attitude. Mood on Big 10 when I fall through, it's all you. Slide through the town by the lake shore. Used to ride tank to the last drop in the Acura. Really, I was down bad, I was acting up. Somehow you still ain't had enough, yeah. Ride for a real one, yeah. Slide on a real one. On my mama and God, you the real thing. Can't even capture me, know you feel something. Yeah, you wanted a million and you show it. What you want, is it really that important? You've been on my mind and I really can't ignore it. Little baby, you a 10. Wait a minute, I got you going. I can't even help it. I don't think I want to. Know that I've been on you. Tell me that you want it. Little baby, you a 10. Can I run it back again? What we doing? I've been on you long time, I'ma prove it. You let me ride tides and I always keep it fluid. And if they ain't going stupid, I be tripping if I lose it. I get you so high, have you jet lag. We can skip town, get your rest back. Vacating it out and blowing jetpack. Show me one more time, nothing you best at, yeah. One more time at you at sunrise. We can slide on Telegraph and do brunch time. I've been making ends meet. I've been running routes to catch it. Plays in the field deep. I just wanna build reach. Know I got you charged up. Just let that phone die. Pull up in the clutch like I'm Curry in the crunch time. I got something for you when the sun gets high. Drop that pen, I've been the black soda out to know you ride with a real one. Side with a real one. Oh my mama and God, you the real thing. Can't even capture me, know you feel something. Yeah, you wanted a million and you show it. What you want, is it really that important? You've been on my mind and I really can't ignore it.
Welcome. What up, though? This your boy Tay Biz in the building. What's good with you? I am excited about what we're going to talk about tonight. I appreciate everybody showing love right now. Factual Lie in the building saying just popping on and hit that thumbs up. I'll be replay crew. I appreciate it though. I appreciate the thumbs up. Thank you so much, Factual Lie. Let's see what we got in the building. We got Abundance in the building saying welcome to Biz Nation. Hit that like button real quick. What up, though? Chill is saying, hey, she was feeling that music. She was feeling that music when we started in. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Even Abundance was feeling the music. Okay. That is what's up. We are here, man. We are here to go ahead and discuss the topic at hand. You saw the thumbnail. We're going to be talking about Sheriff Mickey Stines, getting an update on that. Again, I've been talking about this case for a minute, and so I'm a little bit excited about what it is that that potentially could be something of a discovery when it comes to the behavior and I would say the mental state of Mr. Sheriff Shawn Mickey Stines. So, I'm excited about this, man. I appreciate everybody watching right now. If you are in the building, come on. This is your boy Tay Biz TV. Hit the like button. Go ahead and share, like, subscribe to the channel. We are here right now to talk about the topic at hand. This is one of the most fascinating, I would say, top 5 fascinating cases that I've ever came across in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? And I'm only 42 years old. I've never seen nothing like this before in my life. Like, I've never seen a sheriff gun down his own judge in the county that he is. I just never. We've never heard anything like this before. So, we're gonna get deeper into it. Shout out to Sapphire Ridge News. Sapphire Ridge News, man, excellent content creator, man. I mean, the man breaks it down when it comes to certain things. He broke down some stuff about Trump, broke down some stuff about things that are the current events that's going on right now. I appreciated the video that he did with about Jimmy Carter. Very good video, very good live that he did about that. I was really it was insightful, actually. So I recommend that you all check it out. If somebody from the one of my mods can go to Sapphire Ridge News, go to the channel and go ahead and drop the link to his channel if you are interested in a lot of political things and things of that nature, and also, you know, things that you can appreciate about our country. Go ahead and look at Sapphire Ridge News. Lay back, chill, give you the raw, give you the real. That's all he do. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely want to appreciate Sapphire Ridge for sure. This is again, and this whole situation with Mickey Stines has been pretty crazy. And it's been a little weird, to say the least, you know, because at one point, you know, again, on this channel, we definitely talked about certain instances that could happen where he would call his daughter and things like that. We was definitely thinking about the daughter and all that kind of stuff and what, you know, that entails. You know, was his daughter involved with Judge Kevin Mullins and all this kind of stuff? And I remember having a side conversation. I was talking about, what if the wife was doing something with the judge? Now, again, this is the beginning stage of what I was thinking. And I was like, it could be possible that the wife is using the daughter's phone to continue to talk to the judge, so that way it wouldn't be no trace back to her. Again, he is the sheriff, right? And I was thinking, like, man, what if that was actually happening, where there was some smoke in the city, right? We do know that his wife put him out. They were having issues. And what if she was getting some type of refuge from old Judge Kevin Mullins? Like, what if? You know, and how would a woman, I'm thinking, like, how would a woman do this that's married to a judge? Well, I can't utilize my phone because if I use my phone, he can easily trace it or get into it or whatever. But he would never suspect that my daughter's phone would be, and the daughter's phone was actually saved in his phone. Hey, I'm just saying. His daughter's number was saved. Shawn Mickey Stein's daughter was saved in Judge Kevin Mullins' phone. It is quite possible that moms was using the phone. Again, they were close knit, right? They were friends. They went to each other's houses. And this is what I'm talking about when you intermingle with other couples. This is one of the things that I'm like, you know what? You got to be careful with that because you can compare and contrast in a lot of ways. So what if it was something that she is actually speaking to Kevin Mullins on the daughter's phone? And then when Kevin Mullins called the daughter's phone, he didn't get an answer, according to the reports. But the phone did ring while the shooting was going on in the chambers. Inside of that video, you will see the phone actually light back up. Somebody was returning the call. Okay. Again, my theoretical brain was going, what if that was the case? Maybe it wasn't the daughter. Maybe it was the wife. The man said they are trying to kidnap, take away my family. What if that was what? Could have been swingers. Who knows? They say that's interesting. He said he didn't get triggered until the PH was answered. There you go. To the phone. Until. So the phone did cut. They whoever was on the other line did call back, but the judge couldn't, unfortunately, pick up the call. What if this had nothing to do with the daughter at all? We have been, because again, we were on this channel. I can say for sure on this channel, we were trying to decipher between the premeditated aspect of this to the manslaughter, passionate heat reaction, and again, it could be a buildup. Like you can have suspense of something. And then when you get the actual fact of it at that moment, it can cause a reaction. Even at that moment, it caused a reaction, even though you had suspense throughout the point of getting to that point. It can still be considered manslaughter voluntarily, though, right? But premeditated murder is something a little bit deeper. It goes into a more planned situation. You're planning to do something. Now, according to these new reports, we have found out that the lunch that Stines had with Mullins with other people down the street from the courthouse was not a pleasant lunch. According to sources and according to this article that I'm about to pull up from, it's called the Mountain Eagle, which is down there in Kentucky. I actually subscribe to the article to make sure that I stay on point with this. The lunch was not pleasant, according to what people have said about it. So it wasn't like something was happening between Stines and Mullins. They were having a little bit of a conversation and it was a little bit escalated, but then they kind of calmed down. No, it was a full out. It wasn't pleasant. Nobody felt like it was pleasant. Also, there are hints of possibilities that this particular outrage from the sheriff was a long time coming. Before you like this was almost inevitable that it was going to happen. There are people saying that as well. I don't know if you saw my video that I posted on my channel here, but I did post the actual recent court hearing from last Friday. The new judge, Christopher Caron, is an appointed judge by the Kentucky Supreme Court. And he had a hearing. He will be the judge for this case for the duration of the case. Okay. He had a hearing to go over things that he needed to go over when it comes to getting, abreast to what's going on in this case. Remember, the defense asked for a bond. They also are trying to figure out if he can even afford to pay his defense. And there's a psych evaluation that shall be handled by the Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center. Okay. KCPC. So the whole thing about the daughter, what if this was not the case? As a matter of fact, it is so many people now saying the daughter had nothing to ever do with this. So my thing is like, okay, it goes back to what I originally thought. And I'm like, what if it was the wife using the daughter's phone to have private sessions with Judge Kevin Mullins, and then Stines found out about it, and then he's like, you know what? I'm going to, if this is true, see, this is where the condition, the hypothetical. If this is true, then I'm going to go ahead and end this dude. Again, the families were close. This is not a far-fetched idea, okay? But we're going to go into this. I'm fine. I got my robe on. I'm feeling myself a little bit. We are going to go into, we're going to get deeper into this, okay? And we're going to see what it is that was possibly the motivation for Mickey Stines doing what he did. All right. Now, this article is the Mountain Eagle. This is the Friday, January 24th edition of the article that we are going to talk about right here real quick. And we're going to read up on some of this a little bit. And then we're going to get into the interview of Mickey Stines' defense attorney. Yes. There is an interview recently, about a couple of days ago, that Stines' lawyer did an interview, Mr. Bartley, did an interview with Crime Fix on Law and Crime. We're going to get into that. We're definitely going to get into that. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, man. We're going to be doing some things. And listen, I might have a treat for you guys tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit during the day, though. But it's going to be a treat, okay? Because, okay, let me ask a question. How many of you all are familiar with a podcast called Tonight's Conversation? Put a 1 in the chat if you are familiar with Tonight's Conversation. If you ever heard of that podcast before. It's a podcast that talks about relationships. And they go to different venues and people come and pay ticket and they ask their questions, and okay, well, that whole entire crew is being dismantled. Okay. The whole entire crew is being dismantled. And I am piecing some stuff together that I've been looking at today. I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this. Tomorrow I will probably be going most likely. It's a 90% chance that I'm probably going live tomorrow about this. And we all can just do this together. There is definitely some messiness. And it's also like, see, that's why the thing about messiness, you have to sift through it to get to the actual substance. You know what I'm saying? And then draw your own conclusions from there. But I may be going in about that too. So yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and look into this real quick. Let's get into this article real quick. All right. This is January 22nd, 2025. This is Friday, I believe, or not Friday, but Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday article. Again, the actual court hearing was last Friday of Mickey Stines with the new judge that's been appointed by the Supreme Court, and they were all remote. Okay, no one was in person in this particular hearing. All right, so here we go. It says his judge will decide whether Stines can afford to pay for defense, and also how psych exam is going to be handled. It says here that a judge will hold a private hearing to decide whether the defense of former Sheriff Shawn Mickey Stines will be paid by the state and how a psychological evaluation will be conducted. Again, we're talking about that was the part of the hearing. There was a particular chapter in the hearing that allows some type of veterans and things of that nature to be able to get funding to pay for their criminal responsibilities. All right, this was mentioned in the court hearing that I did that was done on last week Friday that I did a video about. If you have not seen the video that I did about this, please go ahead and get into the channel and you will see that video. If somebody in the mods, one of the mods, can go ahead and go to my channel and you will see the link to that particular video and you can look at it at a different time. But it's literally the full court hearing. It's about maybe 15, 16 minutes long. And things in there. Yeah, exactly. He says, there you go, Sapphire Ridge News got it. We talked about it in our email. He said, he says he's indigent, but he owns property in Kentucky. All right. And in Tennessee. So I'm trying to figure out, how are you not able to do any of your financial responsibilities, criminal responsibilities, but you own property in 2 different states? So what you say, you have no collateral? Is that what you're saying? Like, stop it. I mean, some of this is just like, whatever, dude. All right. Excuse me. But Stines' attorney have indicated they intend to argue that Stines is not criminally responsible for murdering Letcher County Judge Kevin R. Mullins because he was suffering from extreme emotional disturbance. Okay. Now they have to unpack that during the trial. Again, if you look at my video on the channel, you will see that the discovery time frame is still about 4 to 6 months. Okay. So we're far away from a trial date at this point. All right. I just want to let you all know that once a trial date is confirmed and ready to rock and roll, trust me, I will be one of the first ones to let you know because I'm very interested in this particular story. It says, while Special Prosecutor Jackie Steele wants Stines evaluated for both competency to stand trial and criminal responsibility, defense attorney Jeremy Bartley disagreed. No, we don't need to raise the issue of competency, but our only concern is criminal responsibility. Okay, how are we going to get paid, Judge, is what we're concerned about. Hey, your boy said, look, he's fine mentally. We just need to figure out this money thing. You feel what I'm saying? See, all criminal responsibility, that's money. Okay, that's definitely money. D Pill is in the building. Another mod of all mods. Good evening, Biz Nation family. D Pill is in the building. What up, though? Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let's go. Listen, they don't want to raise an issue of competency. And let me tell you something. This is a very smart move from the defense. I'm not gonna lie. Distinguishing the difference of what they want to tend to is a good move for them, because competency, they're not going to be able to even get into that part yet until they start the trial. It's about how are we going to get paid. He's keeping the main thing, even though it's real sketchy looking and it's very, very, it's very, very dark, I would say. However, he's not concerned about, competency. He's like, how am I going to get paid? All right. So this is another thing that we can look at when we start to try to understand attorneys and lawyers, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is it is about the money. Do you know how much money Georgia made off the YSL trial? Like, though they definitely made some money. So let's just keep that in mind. All right. So it says here the request came at a status hearing held Friday before a special electric circuit judge, Christopher Caron, in Western Kentucky. Stines, his attorney, and Steele, and all appeared on video. It says here that the prosecution has already turned over much of the evidence of Stines' attorney, and discovery is expected to be completed in 4 to 6 weeks. Steele told the judge that's actually 4 to 6 months. That's not actually weeks. They actually said months. In the meantime, Caron will hold an in-camera hearing on the defense application for the court to pay for Stines' defense and on details of how psychologists will evaluate his mental health at the time of the shooting. Again, listen, we know what in-camera means now. All of my YSL followers say put YSL in the chat. What does in-camera mean? Somebody tell me, what does in-camera mean in the chat? What does in-camera mean in the chat? Somebody let me know. What does in-camera mean in the chat? If a judge says we could do this in camera, what does in camera mean? Yeah, and okay, and what's the Latin term? What's the terminology? Well, shout out to Sleepy without jury. That's a fact right there. What is it called in Latin? We know it from the YSL. We know it from the YSL, right? A little ex parte. Remember a little ex parte, right? You remember YSL? Oh, there was an ex parte meeting that happened. There you go. Ex parte. So you want to have an ex parte. Now this ex parte is actually sanctioned. Bartley wants his own psychologist. Now, mind you, this is kind of, wait a minute, you said the man is indigent, which means he can't afford certain things. He's not, he doesn't have financial gain or financial advantage at this point where he could just afford anything. Y'all want him to have his own psychologist, okay? Dr. Eric Drogan to interview Stines at the same time as the Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center, but still objected. The prosecution objected to it. He said, I don't want the court's psychologist doing an evaluation until we know what their expert's position is. That's what Steele said. I think their expert needs to get their report in before the case CPC does an evaluation. Okay. Bartley said there is nothing in the court rules that requires the defense expert to do an evaluation first. Judge Caron said he will take the request under consideration. Okay. I'm sorry. The judge pointed out that KCPC does not work for the prosecution. That's a fact. The judge said, hey, psychiatric center doesn't work for the prosecution. Says here, while they're an employee of the state, while there's an employee of the state, they're not an agent of the state, the judge said. That is why Dr. Drogan would be an expert for the defense. Drogan is a forensic psychologist, an attorney in Hingham, Massachusetts, whose webpage lists expert witnesses and expert witness testimony and trial consultation as services he performs. The KCPC, which operates under the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Human Services, is a psychiatric hospital located on the grounds of the Luther Luckett State Correctional Institute in LaGrange. It is the only facility in the state that can conduct competency evaluations of people charged with felonies. All right. Says here, in addition to the psychiatric evaluation, the judge will keep private the effort to determine whether Stines is indigent, whether he's broke or not. All right, let's just keep it a buck. While Stines was paid $112,000 a year during fiscal year 2024, he took his retirement. Listen to this. He took his retirement the week after the shooting. The week after the shooting, Mickey Stines was able to take his retirement. Let me just ask you a question. If I was Mickey Stines, and I'm talking about me, literally me, the way I look, all of me. If I was Mickey Stines and I shot Judge Kevin Mullins, who looks like him, all of him, like who looks exactly like him, in Kentucky, do you think they would give me my retirement after I shot the man? It's just a simple yes or no to that question. Do you think after I look like me, but my name is Shawn Mickey Stines. Do you think I would be able to gain my retirement after I shot a judge? The only judge in this county that could actually do something for the community, by the way. Okay. Yeah, just saying. I'm just asking a question. Sir, absolutely. This is the most, and I've never heard of nothing like this before. I've never heard of anything like this before. This is absolutely insane. Judge Karan said that Stines will likely qualify for he will likely qualify for a state grant for his defense due to the nature of the crime, which was captured on security video, and the complexity of the case. Karan is the third special judge to be appointed to the case. Both previous judges have denied Stines' request for bond, but Bartley renewed his request last week. Karan said that he will set a date for bond hearing, and he will travel to Letcher County for that hearing. This is crazy. Okay, and this is according to the Mountain Eagle. The Mountain Eagle is the most credible news, I would say online news or printing news in Kentucky at this point. I mean, this is just crazy to me. And so now they're saying that it's a possibility, a strong possibility, that this has nothing to do with the judge's daughter in the first place. There are so many people who are saying that there is no actual link to the judge and his daughter at all, which is why I stated something about the sheriff's wife. Was the sheriff's wife doing her thing with Kev Mullins, and he found out about it? Who knows what happened? What if they were at home talking about Stines and his wife? Because his wife did kick him out. Okay, now we already know that. What if it was a situation where they were at home and then all of a sudden they were having an argument about something, and she just stood up and said, "That's the reason why I'm blocking Judge Kevin Mullins, your best friend." You know, there are things that happen in the heat of an argument, in the heat of a moment. Really? Then he has lunch with the dude, and all of a sudden, all he's thinking about is, in his mind, all he's looking at is the sexual act that could have possibly happened. This is a hypothetical. What if that was the case? It had nothing to do with the daughter, so who was he calling? Called the daughter's phone, according to reports. The phone did ring back. Someone called back immediately after he hung up. There was another phone call that took place. There was an outgoing call. Then after that, it was an incoming call. After he unalives the judge, he surrenders himself. Within 5 minutes, he's done. He's gone. So this is very, very interesting as to how this whole thing is taking place. I'm telling you, listen, think about it. And again, I had this theory. It was just a theory at the time. I had this theory like right in the inception of this case. And I'm like, maybe the wife was doing her thing, but was using the daughter's phone to communicate with old Mullins. So that way nothing could come back to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? Maybe their marriage is at a bad state, and then all of a sudden Stines was feeling some type of way about their marriage, and then he started going like, I need to know everything you're doing. What's going on? Why are you doing me this way? But like, you never know, man. This is what I'm saying. Relationships and marriages, those are things that people should not even get involved in. Even if you have a friend, a family member, or whatever it is that's going on, and they are in a relationship that they chose to be in, you let them do it. Do not get involved in other people's relationships. There are things you will never know about between them. And you won't be able to tell who's telling the truth or who's lying. You're not. Listen to me. Leave it alone. The only advice I can give you is stay with your man, stay with your lady. Work it out between each other. If you can't work it out, then do whatever you think is best for you. I can't tell you what to do. I can't get involved. If you leaving for the night, I'm not coming to pick up your stuff and help you leave. It's not, no. You are going to deal with that all the way by yourself. We don't know Mickey Stein's marital state at the time either. And also to with the cherry on top, he was name dropped in a possible situation where he turned a blind eye to sex for favors amongst a judge and a bailiff and So you never know. You just never, ever know. All right. So we about to get into this here interview with Stein's attorney, Mr. Bartley. And let's see what they have to say. Y'all ready for this? Put a 1 in the chat if you're ready for this. Put a 1 in the chat if you're ready for this. If you are coming in late or you're just tuning in, I'm your boy Tay Biz. This is Biz Nation. We are here. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. We are here to discuss the psyche, the possible motivation of why Sheriff Shawn Mickey Stines did this crime. This is absolutely insane. Let's get into it.
Now, days before the shooting, Mickey Stines had been deposed in a civil lawsuit filed by a woman named Sabrina Atkins. Atkins sued Letcher County after a former deputy named Ben Fields admitted to having sex with her when she was an inmate and he was supervising her on home incarceration. Atkins said she couldn't afford a GPS bracelet, so Fields offered to help her out in exchange for her having sex with him in Judge Mullins' chambers. Fields was charged criminally and served 6 months in jail, and he's supposed to be on probation for more than 6 years. Atkins told investigators with the Kentucky Attorney General's office that she saw videotapes of Judge Mullins having sex with women.
But you saw the judge.
Right.
Do you know for sure that was a judge? And how do you know that's the judge?
I'll be in front of you. His face is pretty clear on there.
So did this lawsuit and what was happening in the courthouse play a role in Stines shooting Judge Mullins? His attorneys most certainly believe so, and you're going to hear more about that here in a bit. Fast forward to a hearing for Stines last week. His lawyers want him to undergo a psychiatric evaluation to help determine whether he is criminally responsible for Judge Mullins' murder.
We do believe there will be an issue as to criminal responsibility. We have consulted with, folks with regards to that issue.
The judge agreed to get the ball rolling on the evaluation.
I think that's probably the best course of action to go ahead and get that in the pipeline. It is going to require, what I would recommend is that we go ahead and get the order entered in regards to competency and criminal responsibility. I might as well go ahead and that address, since we're going to be doing that, versus we've seen it sometimes be piecemealed and I don't want to delay the proceedings if we would have to go back and redo that.
So competency and criminal responsibility, these are two totally different things.
Yo, is it me, or is like, does the judge seems like he has a good old boys type of like vibe on him? You know what I'm saying? You know about the good old boys, like protect the we got to protect the toxic solidarity by any cost, so that way we don't lose what we already done gained. You know, it seems like that. It seems, my speculation could be off, but it seems like that. And his fair approach has somewhat of a good old boys vibe. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It could be me. It could be me. All right, let's continue.
Competency has to do with whether someone is able to assist with their own defense, but criminal responsibility has to do with a person's mental state at the time the crime was committed. The Commonwealth objected to the defense's expert possibly being present during the evaluation, which would be conducted by the Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center.
I'm not comfortable doing criminal responsibility if he's going to have an expert on that position, unless we know what the issues are they're raising in the criminal responsibility with our expert. So we're going to get in a position where our experts at KCPC or the court's experts at KCPC on criminal responsibility are going to make a finding while their expert's present, and then he's going to go back and write his report. I don't want the court's KCPC evaluators doing an evaluation until they know what their position is, what their expert's position is. That way he's not interfering, but he's in an evaluation for criminal responsibility, and then he gets to go back and then address issues that he thought were not discussed properly during the KCPC responsibility issue.
So both sides will file briefs on that issue. Meanwhile, the exchange of evidence is well underway.
I know we have made discovery. I think 2 weeks ago we made another some more discovery, some issues. We still have some things coming in and things being tested. I would think within the next 4 to 6 months, all discovery and testing would be complete.
I want to bring in Jeremy Bartley. He represents Mickey Stines in this case. So I want you to kind of break down, Jeremy.
All right, this is the interview that we're going to unpack a little bit here. Okay, so let's get into it.
Bartley, he represents Mickey Stines in this case. So I want you to kind of break down, Jeremy, what exactly you're looking for here with the criminal responsibility evaluation. I mean, is this something that you would present to a jury, or would this be something that would be evaluated pre-trial?
Well, it has the potential to be both. So basically, we are required, if we intend to rely in part or in whole on a mental health defense concerning criminal responsibility, then once we are confident that we can announce our intention to use that as part of our defense, and we have retained our expert, then the Commonwealth of Kentucky has the opportunity to have Mr. Stines evaluated by their expert. And at this point, KCPC there's a huge backlog of cases in the state of Kentucky. And so normally this might be something that we would wait a little bit longer on, but in the interest of trying to expedite this case, we presented Mickey for examination now.
The Commonwealth seemed a little surprised by this. It sounds like they kind of expected the competency exam request, which is different. Competency determines whether or not your client can assist in his own defense. Sure. But you said it was a joint motion. So explain to me kind of why they seemed sort of taken off guard there.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for the Commonwealth, but I have spoken with Mr. Still after. I think potentially there was a misunderstanding between the two of us, but I will say that we have not had a reason to believe that he is not competent. And so competency for the viewers is, that's an examination of whether he's able to understand the nature of the proceedings and whether he's able to assist us in preparing his case for trial. It concerns only the now. Where is he at today in terms of his ability to understand those things and to participate? Whereas criminal responsibility, that examination focuses on the time of the alleged acts. And so what we said in court is that I have no reason at this point to believe that he's unable to assist us. I believe that he understands the nature of the proceedings. But I do believe that his defense will in part rely upon a mental health defense.
In the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
all right. So it sounds like he's saying that Mickey is able to cooperate with us even when this goes to trial. He doesn't have He doesn't have anything that could relate to any type of mental issues. So we're going to exclude that part out. However, at that particular time, it could be an issue where there was some type of mental state within him that wasn't kosher. So it seems like a double message in that to me. If I'm off, let me know. Let me know what you all thought about that. Let's continue.
Statute is very clear. A person is not responsible for criminal conduct if at the time of such conduct, as a result of mental illness or intellectual disability, he lacks substantial capacity either to appreciate the criminality of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law. We saw the body camera footage that was released that we obtained earlier this month. Your client seemed very paranoid in this footage. He's asking where they're taking him, all of this stuff. It almost sounded like he was afraid they were going to take him in the woods somewhere and do something to him, or they was going to be taken somewhere. I mean, did he feel an imminent threat? And was it because of this lawsuit, about the sex in the courthouse and all of these allegations?
If you'd like a one-word answer, yes. Yes, he did feel threatened. In the
By
days
Judge
leading
Mullins?
up, he felt threatened by. I'm not going to say specifically who, but at this point, but he was concerned about if he said the wrong thing or if he had already said something that could cause people to want to retaliate against him, to cause harm to him or his family. Yes, he did feel.
Okay, so the reason why the lawyer is responding this way is because I believe, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a deposition that they wanted Shawn Mickey Stines to be a witness in. Like they wanted him to testify. And they were trying to, this is allegedly, they were trying to make sure that he said the right things, which basically mean the things that they wanted him to say that would dismantle the idea of sex for favors and things of that nature and the corruption of that county. That's what has been said. But we got more stuff. We got more stuff to get into. So, but that's what has been said, I believe. All right.
Feel that there was an imminent threat. And, is it related to the deposition? Well, in large part, yes. And there were a variety of things that were happening there in the area of the courthouse that I think a lot of people wanted to keep secret. And, I think we're starting to see, as you've reported and about some of the things that were behind the veil were not operated the way they should be.
There's been some reporting out there by another outlet. There have been some people who've floated some theories to us that even though, Mickey Stines was obviously as a sheriff named in this lawsuit as the sheriff, that he was somehow involved in all of this with the sex in the courthouse somehow. Was Sheriff Stines as the sheriff involved with the sex for favors in the courthouse?
The civil suit, the only reason that our client was named in the suit, and we're not representing him in that, but he was named solely as the sheriff. And the allegation in that case was solely that he failed to train this Ben Fields, who was convicted of having these sexual relations with people on pretrial release in the same chambers where these acts occurred. But I've not seen any allegation concerning my client in that case that relates to those allegations, and I've not seen anything that substantiates anything of that nature against our client.
Is there anything else that you can reveal to us about what was going on in that courthouse and why he felt threatened that day?
Well, I just think there are a lot of things that he certainly would have been privy to, have been made aware of. And I think that there was a concern that what he might say in that deposition could be harmful to others. I think that this caused him severe distress. And I think you see a person in the body cam footage that you see a person who is completely outside of themselves, outside of the normal way that people were used to seeing the sheriff. And, the days leading up to that deposition and the days following that deposition, he was looking around every corner. He had every reason to believe that there was a threat to his wife and daughter. You heard the testimony at the preliminary hearing that our client's statement was they were going to take or kidnap my wife and daughter. And that was a very real threat that the sheriff felt. And so I think that it's important to understand that while this is not a whodunit case, you have a video, there was a shooting, but there's a real husband, a real father, and a real human who was placed in a absolutely very delicate situation.
Well, we will stay.
Okay. So, all right, watch this here. Okay, I like this here. It says, according to Hillbilly Crime has been on this, man. She is dope. The deposition already occurred. Now, the thing, okay, so if that's the case, I wish I could get my hands on that deposition because I would love to see if he said something out the way that them good old boys was like, yo, since you said this out the way, we gonna mess with you. That's one thing. But this right here is a very interesting point right here from Abundance. She said, I believe there was a lot of dirt going on. If Mickey knew what was going on and never said anything, he was complacent in part of it. Now, that makes okay. Now, again, if a person chooses a blind eye to something, do you think that person is getting paid for it? Probably so. Probably so. Okay. Probably so. If a person is being told, hey man, I just need you to make sure that you keep what we got going on, keep going on. We're gonna pay you for it. That's not far-fetched. The deposition occurred on Monday before the shooting. Yo, that's crazy. So is the deposition, is it on public record? Sapphire, if you know? Monday before the shooting. That's crazy. All right, that's crazy. Now, again, Sabrina Atkins did mention Mickey Stines' name in her deposition, in her interview, in her testimony with the detective from the Attorney General's office. But she doesn't say his name. She never says that he did anything. Okay, she never says he did anything. She doesn't say, oh, Mickey Stines was doing da 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 too. She never says that. She does mention him, but she never says he did anything. However, with the fact that he didn't say anything, which he didn't do, which he did do, he didn't say nothing. He did that. Did he get paid for what he didn't say? Right? Information is now monetized, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to monetize information, it's easy to do it. It's very easy to do it. One of the things you can do is have information on the person. If you have information on the person that is very detrimental to their personal life, that can destroy them. Trust and believe that person is probably going to take the money because they don't want their personal life to be dismantled in a way that could destroy them or their family. According to Mickey Stines, his family was also involved in this in some type of way. Not involved like that, but just they were a part of whatever he was doing. So if he had to pay a consequence, so did his family have to pay a consequence. That's the involvement. She said that it was the Judge Mullins and the higher ups that were doing these things. Okay, so there we go. There's always a fall guy. Now, think abundance. You might need to come up here and say what up to your boy. I'm telling you, this is where I'm getting at. it looks like it's going in the direction of Stines being the fall guy. You mean to tell me Ben Fields, who did his craziness, he gets 6 months. He's a trustee. We found that out. He's a trustee of the county, not EE, but TY, TRUSTY. Okay. He's that type of trustee. They're trusting him with information and things like that. There's always a fall guy. Mickey would be higher up than who? He's the sheriff. Most sheriffs are not higher up to anything. Higher ups would be those that create the laws of the land that they protect. When I think higher up, I'm thinking more like on a political level. Like Mickey Stines is the sheriff. Like what? So his biggest bust was meth. He did a big bust for like methamphetamine like a few years ago. Like so what, bro? Like and okay. When I think higher up, I'm thinking like who's above the judge, right? Who's the representative of that county? As a matter of fact, who is the mayor of the county, of that city? Who is those are higher ups to me. Sapphire, I could be wrong, bro. I could be wrong. You know, hey, I stand to be corrected. But yeah, a sheriff is in control of the whole county. Okay, that's facts. That's fact. But he's only okay. So my question would be, is he only in control of what's already been established? Can Mickey Stines make any changes to the law that he controls? He's a sheriff and he's in control of the county. Can he shift anything? Because for a guy like Ben Fields, who is also a part of the company that helps to give out the ankle monitors and things like that to the inmates, he was able to do all of that and only get 6 months. Only get 6 months. He can make evidence go away. There we go. He can make that evidence go away. That's the control. So again, even though he can make evidence go away, can you still be the fall guy? Again, remember that movie? Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell? Martin was doing all the dirt, but Will Ferrell was the character that had to take the fall. He was the one being set up because he was easy to set up. Again, my thing is this: just because you're in a position of power doesn't always mean you in power, because whoever put you in that position, that's the real power. Yeah, I'm in this position, I can make evidence go away, but the real power is above me. I'm thinking that Stines could possibly be the fall guy. Now, it doesn't mean that him turning a blind eye to what happened is justified. He still owes himself and to his community and to his family a responsibility. He still owes a responsibility to himself, community, and family. However, if someone puts you in a position of power, they have the real power. This is why the fall guy situation is starting to sound a little bit more credible in this particular case. Shout out to Deja Jones that have been saying, hey, Tate B in chat. What up, though? What up, though? That's what I'm saying, Sapphire. I'm saying he's in a position that he controlled the whole county, right? Well, who put him there? You know what I said? Like it's just, it's like, man, it's one of those things where you gotta piece it all together, right? And again, this is so crazy of a case, is insane. And Sapphire Ridge, man, he brings out so much knowledge because of the fact that he knows a lot. He's connected. He knows some people that's connected. He said, and he said there was a bus of a bunch of teenagers at a party, and instead of taking them to jail, he called the parents and made them come pick them up and made the evidence go away. Okay, so my question is, who told him to do that? So either he was told to do that, or he's a part of the Good Old Boy Network. So he a part of the Good Old Boy Network. See, we gonna find all this. I can't wait for this trial, man. I really can't, because we gonna find out all of this when the trial comes. Sapphire Ridge, man, shout out to you, Sapphire Ridge, for sure. Listen, we about to go ahead and get into my man Vinnie Politan closing arguments. He also is trying to unfold and unpack what was the motivation of this whole thing. Let's check it out.
And the first question always when it comes to the case of the Kentucky sheriff and the judge is why? Why did he do it? It seems obvious. He knew he was going to get caught because he did it in the courthouse and turned himself in immediately. So this isn't one of those cases where someone's accused of taking someone else's life and then they try to get away with it. They flee the scene. They deny culpability. No, he turned himself in. So why did he do it? In the beginning, there was a lot of speculation because he called his daughter from inside the judge's chambers, from his phone, and then he used the judge's phone. I don't think the daughter picked up. So a lot of people thought, myself included, that seems like it could potentially be connected to this because it's what happened just prior to the shooting. Now, we haven't seen the whole video, and obviously we haven't heard anything because there is no audio on that video. And there's more to the video that we haven't seen. We've just seen sort of the part when he's up and already attacking the judge. What happened before? Our understanding is that the phone calls were made to the daughter. So is that somehow in some way connected to all of this? Well, it's been denied by the sheriff's family. His wife's sister in a GoFundMe said, listen, if you want to support us, don't support us because you think that the judge was doing something with the daughter. That has nothing to do with this. That's what they said. So there's no indication that that is necessarily connected. Now, there's something else big that was going on. Female inmates were assaulted in the judge's chambers. And the sheriff was being sued for that because it was one of the deputies that was working for him who was assigned to be the bailiff for the judge. So there's a nexus there. There's a connection connecting the sheriff and the judge, and something that's kind of, not on the up and up. Like there's something about this. And when we've talked about this, his lawyer has said, yes, this is part of it, but it's bigger. So what does that mean, bigger? What does that mean? Like this is a piece of it. And he had just been deposed that week in that civil case. It happened in the judge's chambers, but the judge wasn't being sued. The sheriff was being sued because it was his deputy who he was in charge of, even though he was assigned to be the judge's bailiff, and the sexual assault of the inmate was taking place after hours in the judge's chambers. So is it about, or it is about, but we've got to figure it out, his mental state, right? What was it that made him do this? What was going on in his mind at the time? That's the question, because we haven't heard from his lawyer. We haven't heard from anyone. So how do you figure that out? Well, the sheriff can tell you, or an expert can come in, have that conversation, evaluate the sheriff and what was going on in his life, what was going on in his mind at the time of the shooting. Today, the sheriff back in court, it's all being done virtually, but that was the issue. We've been waiting for this. That was the issue. The defense wants him evaluated. Take a listen.
What we have spoken with Mr. Steele about is that we do believe that there will be an issue as to criminal responsibility. We've consulted with, folks with regards to that issue. I reached out to Mr. Steele and we basically decided that we would raise this as a joint motion. I know that, once we provide that notice. The Commonwealth is entitled to have their expert evaluate Mr. Stines. And out of expediency, I believe that Mr. Steele and I would ask for an order for that evaluation to go ahead and take place. There are a couple of issues I did want to address with regard to the examination. I don't think they will be an issue at all, but I did want to make a couple of notes. But that's how we intend to proceed, Your Honor, with the court's blessing.
All right. And in regards to that, what I generally would do, and I think that's probably the best course of action, to go ahead and get that in the pipeline. It is going to require, what I would recommend is that we go ahead and get the order entered in regards to competency and criminal responsibility. I might as well go ahead and have that addressed, since we're going to be doing that, versus we've seen it sometimes be piecemealed, and I don't want to delay the proceedings if we would have to go back and redo that. I know KCPC will initially do a video interview of him initially, and then we'll notify, which is now required by law, and then they will then notify the court if a inpatient evaluation would be required.
We do not raise the issue as to competency, but I understand the court and the expediency of going ahead and examining that. I understand that, but I did want to make clear that our notice only concerned the criminal responsibility, Your Honor. My understanding with the, I believe it's Shawn's law, that made it more clear that our expert should be able to participate in the proceedings at KCPC.
This is taking a little bit of a turn from the discussion me and Mr. Barley had. I thought we was doing a competency evaluation. Now we do the criminal responsibility behind it. But now he's saying that he wants his expert there doing a criminal responsibility. I'm not comfortable doing a criminal responsibility if he's going to have an expert on that position, unless we know what the issues are they're raising in the criminal responsibility of their expert.
Okay, so it's on the table now. Criminal responsibility, state of mind, legal insanity, right? Competency is what's his state of mind now? Can he proceed in the case? Does he understand what's going on? I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about why and what was going on when he shot the judge in his chambers. Joining me, forensic psychologist, Dr. John Delatorre. Great to see you, doctor. Let's begin here. Walk us through the process. This evaluation is going to be done about criminal responsibility, his state of mind at the time of the shooting that we've watched on video. What is that evaluation process like? Take us step by step what someone who's evaluating him will do.
So the first thing is kind of reviewing all of the discovery that's currently available. Now, obviously, discovery can come available all throughout the process, but initially at this point, you kind of want to see everything that both sides already have. You're going to start reviewing all these videos, right? Body cam, whether it's, from him being arrested or police cam in the car, whatever it is that you have, you want to take a look at it. When you actually get to talking to him, you want to spend some time talking to him about his basic background information. How did he grow up? Does he have any mental health history? Does he have any substance abuse history? And I think that's going to be the key thing here, because if we're looking at criminal responsibility, and I'm assuming what they actually mean is insanity, did he know what he was doing was wrong? Or in some jurisdictions, it's also, could they not comport themselves to the law as a direct result of some mental disease or defect? So you really want, as a psychologist and a psychiatrist doing these kinds of evaluations, you really want to tease out, was there substance abuse happening? Alcohol, marijuana, methamphetamine is something that I see a lot. These kinds of things can influence someone's decision-making and lower a person's inhibitions to engage in a behavior that they wouldn't have typically done if not under the stress of whatever it was that was going on in their lives, along with the substance use. And that's the other piece, is what other stressors were going on in that individual's life, and how were they managing or mismanaging whatever those stressors were.
So it seems a lot of this depends upon what the defendant is going to tell you and how honest they're going to be, right? I mean, that's part of it. So how do you figure out when they're being truthful and when they're saying something that they may think helps them, or say something that's not the truth?
Yeah, I don't spend too much time worrying about liars, because the issue, the reality is that these individuals are going to lie to me about something. So I don't spend too much time worrying about, are they lying to me about this, that, or the other thing, because I know that they are. I spend more time looking at consistencies. What is consistent from the story that he's telling me to the objective evidence that I have? If I don't see any consistency between the two, who else can I talk to? What other family members are available to let me know what was going on in the weeks, maybe month, that led up to this time? Sometimes it's really about how other people see you. I don't spend too much time worrying about the subject, right? The examinee, right? What his story is, that's only one piece of the pie. family members, friends, co-workers, objective information, clear evidence obtained by police and medical examiners, all of these kinds of things, I think, weigh more than just the story that I'm being told.
And will you ask him about the shooting itself? I mean, do you go there to the day that it happened, and do you walk through what he did?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll even go a little bit past it. It really depends on the crime that the person has been charged. If the person's been charged with murder, then we're going to spend a lot of time talking about how did you decide that this was the thing that you want to do? How did you feel when all of this was happening? What did you think was happening when all of this was happening? And then talking a little bit more about what did you do afterwards? Now, not going to.
All right, right there. Hold on. Let's go back a little bit. Right there, you could see that the judge is having the judge and sheriff is having a conversation, and something happens where it triggers him to pull out his pistol and shoot him. Mind you, in the full video that we saw in the actual grand jury hearing to determine whether or not he was being charged with first-degree murder or not, he carries his pistol, but he never draw his pistol or touch it in any type of way until this phone situation. So this is the reason why this case is so tricky, where we want to shoot off at the hip and be like, yeah, he did murder, he just put him in prison, blah blah blah. Yeah, he got to go to prison. He's gonna go to prison no matter what. That we know that. No matter what. But is it first-degree murder and is it not first-degree murder? Because again, we're talking about capital punishment if he is charged with first-degree murder. Okay, we're talking about actual capital punishment here, death sentence level. All right, so this is a very serious situation. So these little details and these nuances that a lot of people don't care about or they don't think about, those nuances is a matter of life and death when it comes to stuff like this. All right. So we got to be very, very careful about everything. And with this video, you see even in his breathing. I mean, really look at the way his breathing even changes when he pull his gun out. And I just want you all to look at this very carefully. And I'm gonna bring myself down. Look at this very carefully. Even look at his breathing and look how different it is in the video. Watch this.
The thing that you want to do. How did you feel when all of this was happening? What did you think was happening when all of this was happening? And then talking a little bit
right there. That breath right there was like, yo, right there, it was something crazy. Let's go.
This was happening. What did you think was happening when all of this was happening? And then
right here, they're having a conversation and it goes all the way left, and he takes a deep breath before he fires off his first shot. This is how detailed the lawyer has to be to represent a man like this, because nobody in their right mind who's a sheriff does this. It was like, I gotta shoot him. This was not some like they had a conversation. It was already a conversation at lunch that was very disturbing. And then it trickled over to the chambers. And his breathing, listen, standard military training, I get it, but that's if you a sniper. If you shooting a pistol, you can shoot a pistol without even having to take a breath if you that tight, if you that type of person. Listen, whether it's military or street, brother, I've been listen to me, man. Whatever happened in the conversation even took a toll on him where he was already upset. And when you're upset, your breathing changes. When you're mad or angry, your breathing changes. And this looked like his breathing changed upon anger. Not like he needed to breathe to make sure he aimed correctly. That's a different type of breathing. So I think, so Sapphire, I feel you. I feel you on that, because it's like, that was not that type of breathing to me. And I'm looking at every detail of this, and you have to in the situation, because this is capital level. That's facts. So right. So the military do teach you to take a breath and hold it before firing. So that's true. That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy, because it's like, even that's a fact too. That's a fact too. So his breathing may be in question. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything about this is just so fascinating to me. I'm just, even down to the way he did this was just crazy. I'm sorry, let's go.
Did you feel when all of this was happening? What did you think was happening when all of this was happening? And then talking a little bit more about, what did you do afterwards? Now, we're not going to spend too much time on there. If this person hasn't been charged with evading arrest or anything like that, we're not going to spend too much time, because the reality is that if someone, let's say, was insane at the time of the offense, across the timeline, there's clearly going to be a point where someone becomes sane. So you don't want to go too far down the road on the timeline of the events as they were unfolding, right? You really kind of want to stick to what was going on in the hours, minutes, seconds leading up to it, and then kind of the seconds and minutes and maybe hour following, to see how well established the delusional aspect of what they thought they were doing has settled.
And if someone has that break from reality, right, and they're in some sort of delusion, afterwards, can they always recall it? Like, do they remember being in the delusion? Do they recognize that it was an altered, like, delusional state? How do they reconcile, like, being here speaking to you versus, a few months ago I was in the judge's chambers and this was happening?
Yeah, and honestly, Billy, that's the hard part, because when you're speaking to them, it's usually weeks, months, maybe even years after the event has already occurred. So they can already be loosened from whatever that delusional state was, whatever it was that was going on. They can be loose from it, from medications, or they're off drugs. Anything could have happened in which they're telling you, yeah, I recognize that this thing was wrong, but they're telling it to me now, that they recognize it as wrong now. The retrospective aspect of conducting a sanity evaluation makes this so much more difficult, because you have to know what were they actually thinking then, not so much what they're thinking now. And that's where other people and the objective evidence that you get can kind of guide the way to determine how settled that actual delusional aspect was.
Dr. John Delatorre, forensic psychologist, great to have your insight. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, check out the body cam video of Sheriff Stines' arrest. It was posted on YouTube by Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures.
And there he is. They're using handcuffs, and they're putting him in the police cruiser.
Be fair to me. Done it. Was it over your family? Come on now, guys. What are you doing? I'm just talking to you. Something did happen. If you could let us know. Why did you want to talk to your daughter like that? Something did happen. What led to this?
And there you hear the deputy is asking questions, not getting much of a response there. The only thing he said that we could really comprehend was he said, be fair with me. Be fair with me. All right, let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining me, trial attorney, big case Michael.
Okay, before we get into this dude, let me break it down a little bit more, because it's going a little bit too fast. But check this out. I did this video as well on this arrest of Mickey Stines. I did a full video on this too. Again, look at the channel, look at the videos, you'll see it. Listen to me. That person, the driving, the deputy or whoever, the police officer that was driving the vehicle, he asked him specifically, did you do this because of your family? Did you do this because of this and that? He was asking him specific questions. Now, this particular sheriff or police officer was asking these questions before the lead investigator was even shown on the video of the arrest. You don't see the lead investigator of this case when it comes to the arrest. You don't see him until they arrive at the jail. Prior to that, he was already asking him a specific question about his family. Okay? So I'm just saying, I don't know. But this seemed like some good old boy network stuff that went awry. And maybe it's one of two things. Stines was a good old boy at one point and then he changed, or he was a good old boy and he was like, y'all trying to throw me under the bus. I'm about to get rid of all of y'all. Because I've also been a part of it too. It's either or for me. He said, don't take me to the woods. Thank you. What does that mean? What do you do in the woods? Besides barbecue, avoid bears, and camp. You're getting rid of the woods is the perfect place to get rid of bodies, to do whatever type of execution thing you want to do. Again, his paranoia has some justification. Again, I'm not justifying what he's done to the judge at all. No. But his paranoia was justified. And then the officer saying, hey, did you shoot him because of your family? What do you mean? Why would you ask me that question? Mickey Stines didn't say a word. Again, that video is in my channel as well. If somebody, one of the mods, can go to my channel and drop the link to that video, I did the entire body cam footage is on my channel. All right, let's go.
Well, Jafer is with us. Also joining us, Chief Public Defender for Oakland County, Michigan. She represented the Oxford High School shooter, Paulette Lofton, and the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case and fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chu. Great to see everyone tonight. All right, Michael, let me start with you. This is where I thought this case might go in some way, but I guess it depends upon the results of this evaluation. But I mean, this has to be the defense. I don't know what other defense there is when the whole thing's on video.
This explains a lot, Vinny. Last year when I saw the flash on my phone that said, Kentucky sheriff murders judge in chambers with his gun and then turns himself in, I thought this is definitely a meme. And then when I found out that it wasn't a meme, I said, for sure, something happened, some psychotic break happened. I'm not a doctor, but there's no way on earth that this would happen in any other way other than this person having a psychotic break from reality. And so this explains a lot. We've been in these conversations with clients in jailhouses where, hey, it's very awkward. You're going to have a competency evaluation, a criminal responsibility evaluation. But this would explain a lot. The way he was looking for this judge under the table is the way I look for missing keys, or I drop a cracker and I don't want my wife to yell at me, so I look for the cracker under the table. That's how he was looking for a sitting judge. The trust that judges have with these bailiffs and these sheriffs, it's like the president and the Secret Service, or an infant to their parent. You're in their hands, and I don't think this has ever happened before. So just imagine just the power you have over this judge and you're a bailiff or a sheriff. So he must have had a psychotic break, and this would explain a lot.
Yeah, Paulette, there's been a couple things, right? That week he was deposed in the case involving the sexual assaults of inmates that was taking place after hours by one of his deputies in the judge's chambers where the shooting took place. So a lot of people it's connected to that. He snapped. Maybe the judge was up to no good, did something to him. I don't know, but it seems more likely to me that there was some delusional aspect to what the sheriff was perceiving and what was happening.
I agree. I think that deposition really is going to be brought in when we are told more about the facts of this case. I think that's got to be important. It happened in the judge's chambers, the same chambers that then the judge is executed in. So I do think that that's going to be important. Criminal responsibility exams are tough, though. If he worked that day and everything seemed normal and he was able to conform his behavior to the normal rules of his duties as a sheriff and everything was fine. I mean, we know for sure he went to lunch with the judge earlier that day. I would think if he was acting absolutely out of character, the judge would have either sent him home or said something to someone. And we see afterwards, he turns himself in, he conforms to what he knows he has to do. He puts his hands behind his back, he's handcuffed, there's no issue. He answers questions appropriately. So it's really going to be tough with criminal responsibility. But I do think there obviously was something going on with him and his state of mind at that time.
Yeah, but Ben, it seems he knows right from wrong because he knows he just did something and he has to turn himself in. The question is, did he feel like he was justified in his mind? Because the other statement that's been attributed to him was that they're trying to take away my wife and my kid. To me, that sounds like it was someone other than the sheriff coming into the judge's chamber saying the judge is trying to take my wife and kid and takes him out. I'm like, there's probably something going on mentally, some sort of a break. So I think that's where we are. It's just that it's the sheriff that makes it so different.
Man, look. Go ahead and look into the comments real quick here. This is absolutely insane. Shout out to Starfish and Coffee. I appreciate you. Says here the wife threw him out a few weeks before the deposition. That's a fact. That is a fact. The daughter and family are the smoke screen they are using to give Stines justification. I still think that the fact that it has nothing to do with the daughter, that they're saying it has nothing to do with the daughter, right? Okay, let's say it doesn't. Does it have something to do with the wife? And was the wife doing something but using the daughter's phone? Listen, I don't put nothing past nobody in this type of situation. Then you have a good old boys network down there too. So it's possible that he was a part of the good old boys network. And as we mentioned before, it's possible that maybe he was like, you know what, this is wrong. I need to fix this. Justice, good old boy justice. Or was it one of those situations where you was a good old boy, you flipped up, and then now they're blackmailing and blackballing you? Or is it a situation where you tried to save yourself? I left a poll up, and we're gonna see how everybody feel about it. But what was the actual motivation, which is what we're talking about tonight? Okay. Shout out to Starfish and Coffee because they have tagged me a couple of times on the Surviving the Survivor channel, and Hillbilly Crime is on it. Surviving the Survivor, of course, is on it, and then Mark Davidson, who's the district attorney general, is on this particular podcast, and they're discussing the motivation of why Mickey Stines shot the judge. This stream was about 4 days ago, very recent. This is after the court hearing or the pretrial hearing of the new judge, Christopher Karan, last Friday. So we are going to deep dive into this as well. If you can, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. The channel is now monetized, so you can give your super chat, super thanks. You can also Cash App and PayPal and things of that nature as well. Excuse me. However, I don't know if you're new to the channel or not, but if you know, not like, I don't really solicit like donations and things like that. I just feel weird doing that, so I don't do it. I just leave it up to the hearts of those who care to give or not. So that's kind of like how I roll. So I'm sorry, you're never gonna see me really like do that. It's up to people. You know, if somebody posts something or somebody want to give a super chat, then I will acknowledge it for sure. I always want to acknowledge everyone, even the people that don't give a super chat. I'm still going to acknowledge you. Like I don't know. I know a lot of other channels kind of do that thing where they compartmentalize super chats versus regular chats or whatever, and it's like I'm just not going to do that. If I see something that's like super dope and I want to go ahead and actually put it up, I'm going to put it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if you super chatted or not. Like, if I see something that's like really dope, I'm going to acknowledge it. So, yeah, I'm not that person. So, you know, if you have something to say that's valuable to what we're talking about, I'm going to definitely bring it up. Even if it is something controversial, I'm like, okay, I'm all about controversy. If I don't know if you noticed this or not, but I'm definitely about that as well. So it's cool with me. You know, I appreciate my mods, my moderators. They always post, like, share, subscribe. They always post or chat or send up posts about the way you can, you know, donate to the channel or whatever. But you know, I feel like I got more work to do. And I know I'm monetized now, but I still feel like I got more work to put into this. I have to balance my work life, my personal life, and this life at the same time. So, you know, I have to do what I have to do, but I believe in this. I believe that it's going to be good. and I believe this channel gonna do well. So, I'm not tripping about it like that. You know what I'm saying? So I want everybody to know that I don't care. Even when I've had chats where I've had live. I've had live videos where it was like 300-400 in the chat, and I'm in it. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a super chat. I don't care if it's a regular chat. I post everything from everyone. You know what I'm saying? As much as I can. And because I'm also producing my own show, I'm also coming up with the things that I want to talk about. So all of that comes with production. I'm also executive producing it while I'm going live because I have to do certain things. So all at the same time. So, and I appreciate you, Sapphire Reg, and all of you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So my thing is everybody get the love from me. It don't even matter. Like, everybody get the love from me. So I appreciate you, Abundance. I appreciate you, Chill. I appreciate Tracy Talks. I appreciate all you guys. Even my man KP, Kissing Pink. He not here right now, but even my man KP, dedicated dude, always come through. Like, it's love. It's always love. Look at Felicia be in the middle. What up, though? Tay Ben, what up, though? She's in the middle. Another person that's always showing love as well. No, I've been all right. You know what I'm saying? I've been all right. You feel me? Been all right. Hey, what up, though? Right? But yeah, so I'm not that type of channel to just be it's some people that's on YouTube, they be like, yo, if y'all don't get my likes up, I ain't gonna continue with the show. Like, I ain't like that, man. Whatever I want to talk about, I want to talk about it, whether it's 5, 50, or 500. I want to talk about it, and then once it come up, once my show is done, it'll do the numbers it's supposed to do. But all I know is this: I enjoy doing this. I love doing it, and I appreciate everybody that rock with me, that also support me and support me with likes, with comments, and all that kind of, with just the activity of the channel. It's such a blessing. I appreciate it, and I thank you for all that you have done. Even when I got demonetized and I was on a hiatus for a minute, and I had to be very, very careful about what I posted, you all was still supportive. And then when I got remonetized, everybody was still supportive. So it's been a blessing, and it's been nothing but love. Look, see, I appreciate it. Look at that, Chill. I appreciate you, Chill. That's my girl right there. I appreciate you and enjoy being a part of Biz Nation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, she said Teresa Toast. I've seen them ask for a total of 200 in super chats before these. Oh no. We're not doing that. We're gonna start. I don't care who here or not. We're gonna start. We're gonna do what we do, man. Like, that's what I'm saying. This channel is not like that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for even sending this super chat and just saying that you appreciate me. Thank you. I thank you for your support and your love all day long. You already know. So let's get into this whole thing here. Again, this is Surviving the Survivor. I'm sorry I had to get a little sentimental, man, because I hate the way, I've been a part of the chats before of other channels that's like big, and they just be like, the one big channel that don't do that is the lead attorney. The lead attorney don't do that. Like, even if you super chat, he gonna acknowledge your super chat for sure. There's a lot of people that super chat his channel, so he's in a different realm. All right, but the lead attorney will also, if he sees something that goes towards the subject matter and he likes it, he will acknowledge it. Like, lead attorney pay attention to a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And he acknowledges it. So I can appreciate that kind of thing. AV to the 7th Power is the same way. Cat Not Williams is the same way. I love Cat. Shout out to Cat Not Williams, man. Cat Not Williams do the same thing. She acknowledged all chats. And I think that's the integrity and just the appreciation that a person need to show. So that way people can still continue to support, because we're in this together. I'm just the voice. I'm the voice for those who are doing the same things, as far as like watching different cases and listen, and they have their own ideas about different things like relationships or whatever the case may be. That don't mean that I deserve anything. It's like, no, you get what you earn. This deserve thing has gone way too left. You receive what you deserve. And there are times in your life where God will bless you even when you didn't deserve it, but he bless you because his mercy and grace is beyond your comprehension. You will never understand why God loves you the way he does, but he will still give you exactly what you need when you need it. And you didn't do anything to earn it. You did everything to deserve it based on his love for you. You got to have a humble spirit in this life. And if you don't, humble don't mean you're a pushover. Humble means you acknowledge the fact that you are non-deserving of things. And you show mercy to other people. That's the humility. We love to just put people to the wayside and kill them off sight, whether that's their reputation or whatever, all because of the fact that we think we arrived to a certain level that we deserve an opportunity. I know ain't no deserve. You earn. You work and you earn. When you are, even if you're in a relationship with somebody that's a good person, I mean a really good person, you earn. You put in work too. The same investment they put into you, and you reciprocate that, you get the outcome that you want. But when you come to with this deserve mentality, that's a childlike mentality, and a lot of people are not going to deal with that. And you can't be mad because they're not going to deal with that. You feel what I'm saying? So I love all of you all. I love you, Chill. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I appreciate you. And man, this is awesome. Starfish said poor AV7 Power was told by a hater she doesn't have numbers in her stream if she doesn't live stream with lead. That's not necessarily true. You even listen, you get the numbers you get, and you good. You straight. I had a video, it had like almost 70,000 views, a Woody Speaks video on my channel, and it went through the roof. Like, everybody that subscribed to your channel don't always watch you. They might watch you through a different algorithm. And this is something I learned. Okay. This is something that I learned, is that your algorithm can be different for each channel. There are some channels that they delve into the shorts algorithm. All right. So if you post a lot of shorts, that's your audience. Okay. Then there's some people that post a lot of videos. They never go live. That's their audience. Then you got, because there are some people that will see that you got a video up and they'll watch it later. Then you got some people that's live. They love to be on live, and that's your audience. And then there are times where all those audience get blended on a live. But you got to know your audience. If your audience is shorts and you do a lot of shorts, then that's cool. And there's some people that got like 1 million subscribers, but all they do is shorts. Because that's because 1 million people only have the capacity to pay attention to shorts. Okay? You can't knock people for that. You know? And so whoever that hater was, man, we're going to dismiss them right now, because AV to the 7th power is super dope. Super dope. Her content, her presentation, her insight, everything about it is on point. You know what I'm saying? Just like Katnai Williams. Her insight, her the way she just continue to the way she understands law language, unpacking the common sense of a case. All that stuff is a skill set, man. And a lot of people don't have that. I remember I was talking to Kat Williams on the DM and on the X platform. And she was saying something about the fact that I use like humor and facts and I bring them together. Okay. So if that's the case, then that means that my humor and my facts put together, that's my audience. And guess what? This is the way I talk outside of YouTube. If I'm having a regular conversation with you, I'm going to spit facts and I might make you laugh a little bit. And even if what I'm saying might offend your ego, I still bring some humor to it to make sure that you understand you can receive it. It has nothing to do with you directly. It has everything to do with what you may need to do for you. I have conversations like this all the time. And no one be like, you know what? I had a fallout with Tay and like, nah, man, that's it. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Be yourself and you'll be fine. Be yourself. You'll be fine. I don't care if it's one person on here or 1,000 people on here. I'm going to do the show like I do the show. All right. For sure. All right. Now, let's get back into it. Let's go ahead and clap it up real quick. As a matter of fact, since we on it, man, let me go ahead and take a brief commercial real quick. I'll be right back because season 4 of the Mailroom Network is about to start. So just give me a minute. I'll be right back.
She want me coming to France, she better cash for it. She want to explore my pants, I say clash for it. Old enough to be grabbed, she bank balance on. So she like the funky Lacan, she holds back on it. I ain't about economy class, I lean back for it. Right about high enough, I'm low battery. Then the credit card comes up and I'll be handing it out. Life for luxury, mature women touching me. Can't lie, say I don't like how the tissue feels. Few folds, I'm sure that's where the treasure is. She impressed by my high school in the registry. She going bounce on it. She going bounce on it.
All right. Had a quick commercial break real quick. But yo, the Mailroom Network is starting February the 16th. February the 16th, we're going to go live every Sunday, 5:30 p.m. We're going live. And season 4 of the Mailroom Network is about to be super dope. We are revamping the show. We're doing a lot of different things. We had a production meeting earlier in the day, and it was just super dope. It's myself, Rollo, the Don, and my boy JB the Gent. And we do our thing. We talk about relationships. We talk about a lot of stuff. And we give our insight. And this ain't our show ain't no a woman bashing like podcast or YouTube channel like that. Like we don't rock like that. All right. We delve into the truth. We delve into what needs to be done. We delve into what has to be addressed. And so we just keep it a beat with everybody. So that was a commercial real quick. If you can, go ahead, go to the Mailroom Network. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel because we about to get it in on February the 16th. And let me tell you something. I am who I am on my show, right? And I have a lot of range, right? I could talk about whatever, you know what I'm saying? I still respect my fellas and make sure that I'm talking about what needs to be on the confines of the network. However, man, we get it in, though. We get it in, though. So you might want to go ahead and check it out. All right, here we go. We're about to go ahead and get into surviving the survivor because this panel right here is definitely interesting. That they have the district attorney general, they have Hillbilly Crime, which is I think her name is Elizabeth Jones, I believe. And then Surviving the Survivor, who is also the actual host of the show. And they are talking about some of the insights of this case that we've been talking about the motivation of Mickey Stines, because now it comes to it seems like it's getting to a point where the daughter is a non-factor. That's what it is getting to. It's leaning in that direction where the daughter was a non-factor. So when he called the daughter and and then the family also said, and again, like Starfish and Coffee said, the smoke screen is the fam. It seems like they're like, no, it had nothing to do with her. No. It's like, okay, really, or not, and so it's really up and down. I promise you, we're not going to really know anything truthful until the actual trial. Everything is going to be speculation, insight, and possibility. But I think this is something that we need to scratch our heads on. Again, have you ever seen a case like this? Have you ever seen a case where a man was able to shoot a judge in his chambers on camera? And no one shot him. Mickey Stines is alive. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the fact that Mickey Stines alone is alive? He was in a public service building where the judge chambers is held. He was able to shoot that judge, unalive him, and get arrested. And get arrested, by the way. Okay? First of all, what? He did not get gunned down at all. So that's something that's already like a wow factor. Just off the fact that we've seen people get gunned down for less. We have seen people get gunned down for less. Okay? So that in and of itself is remarkable. Then on top of it, they're trying to kidnap your family. They're trying to kidnap your wife. They're trying to what? Okay? So all this is just definite. It's giving fall guy behavior to me. Even though he may have probably done some things that he had to do because of the Good Old Boys Network that he may not even wanted to do. But man, this is giving fall guy behavior, and they saving him. They saving this dude. They are saving this dude. They are preserving this man's life, even by doing this trial. Because I'm gonna tell you something right now. If a person who was of the male species, who happened to be of a certain ethnicity, were to shoot a judge in their chambers, surrender himself, he would be gunned down. I'm just being honest with you. And I'm not no race type of person like that, but I know I ain't stupid. I ain't blind. I mean, I wear glasses, but I ain't blind. Like I asked earlier, do you think I could get away with this? Look at me. I shoot a judge in their chambers. You think I'm gonna get away? You think I'm gonna get arrested? No, my life is over. It's done. It's over. It's over. Do you hear me? So we're gonna get into this panel because I find it very interesting as well that this conversation was very, very interesting to me about the motivation, about the information that led up to the shooting. So let's get into this real quick. And we got a little bit more time. We may not get through all of this. It's about an hour and a half. We may not get through all of this, but I definitely want to get through the most of this. All right, let's get it in. Let's go.
We've got General Mark Davidson, who is an active DA out of the great state of Tennessee, covers 5 rural counties in Tennessee. So he knows a thing or two about smaller jurisdictions, and he's going to give us his expert advice as an active prosecutor. Last but not least, we're expecting John Tompkins, who's a criminal defense attorney out of Indianapolis. We met him during the Delphi case, and he is supposed to be here. He does a lot of work in smaller jurisdictions, and he's going to give us his perspective as well. So what we know so far, for sure, that Sheriff Mickey Stines has been charged with 1 count of murder of a public official. That, of course, is Judge Kevin Mullins, because he is a government official. This is potentially a death penalty eligible case. As I said earlier, Sheriff Stines was Judge Mullins' bailiff for 10 years. He's currently being held at the Leslie County Detention Center. Do you, by the way, I got some hate mail saying that I should not refer to you as Hillbilly, but I kind of like it. If you want 2 names and or Elizabeth, you tell me, but I asked you last time and they said it was disrespectful. However, I don't think it is because I asked you. I think we get along. So, Elizabeth, let's start there. First of all, he's being held at the Leslie County Detention Center, which is a different county, obviously. It's about an hour away. Do we know why there and why not in Letcher County at this point?
I think it's probably just for safety reasons and conflict of interest, probably. It's about an hour, a little bit less than that. I'm not exactly sure why they chose Leslie County, to be honest with you.
Interesting. How about you, General Mark? Is this typical in rural Tennessee if someone commits a crime in one county to hold them in another county because maybe there's too much talking going on? Or...
Yeah, you typically would not hold a sheriff in his own jail.
Wow, you wouldn't typically hold a sheriff in their own jail. That's crazy. but actually it makes sense because, of course, there's probably going to be some inmates that want some retaliation, and that's for safety reasons. But man, that's very telling.
I mean, I know he's resigned the position, but at the time of the event, had he been put in that jail, these would have been people he's hired who were incarcerating him. He would be very close to the jail administrator, if not consider him to be a right-hand person. So, there's safety issues there. There's potential issues with him getting favors or maybe things happening that shouldn't be. So it's just easier. It makes more sense to hold him in a different jail.
So there was a hearing this past Friday. It was supposed to be live on Zoom. Never happened live on Zoom. A lot of people had a hard time tracking it down, but the Zoom eventually did appear. And to get us all caught up to date, there's a news story from the great state of Kentucky. I'm going to play it for us now to watch it together, and then we're going to go through some of the more new and interesting developments that we are starting to find out about. And as I said, a clear picture is starting to emerge. And I'll give you this spoiler alert. It is not a pretty picture. Here we go.
After being arraigned in the Letcher County Courthouse, former Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Stines appeared before a judge Friday morning. The judge in the case made this recommendation.
We go ahead and get the order entered in regards to competency and criminal responsibility.
That order would go through the Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center. Stines, being held in the Leslie County Detention Center, was indicted by a Letcher County grand jury on 1 count of murdering a public official. His attorney, Jeremy Bartley, specifically addressed the issue of criminal responsibility.
Our expert should be able to participate in the proceedings at KCPC.
Commonwealth's attorney Jackie Steele took issue with Bartley's request.
I'm not comfortable doing criminal responsibility if he's going to have an expert on that position, unless we know what the issues are they're raising in the criminal responsibility of their expert.
While Steele feels comfortable getting the criminal responsibility order in, he wants the process to play out with these conditions.
Their expert, if they've already conferred with him, he's already done an examination, needs to get that report in before the KCPC responsibility issue is done.
The judge said he'll move ahead with the competency and criminal responsibility orders, addressing the timing of the reports, who's present and when, at a later date. As for the issue of bond, no bond was set for Stines at his arraignment in November. Friday, Bartley asked the judge to take the matter of bond under advisement.
In whatever form the court would like for us to raise that issue.
The judge told him to set a time for a formal motion on bond. No date has been set to address that, but the judge says that hearing will take place in person.
There you go. That is Lex 18 in Kentucky. Having some storms here again, so I apologize. Go in and out a tiny bit here. Hopefully it will not be a problem today. General Mark, to you on this. The KCPC is a term we're hearing now more of, and we heard about it on Friday. This is, and I'm just referring to my notes here, the Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center. So it's going through, the correctional department. Walk us through this. So they're going to have to do a competency hearing. What's the turnaround time? The other big issue, as you just heard, that came up, he's being held without bond. But first, to the competency hearing and the defense, special defense expert here. Tell us this process, how this moves forward.
So the defense has not only requested a mental evaluation and there are 2 different issues, competency and what they're calling responsibility. I typically in Tennessee, we're referring to insanity at the time of the offense. So competency is to determine whether or not you are competent to stand trial currently. Do you know who the judge is? Are you able to assist your defense lawyer? Do you know who the prosecutor is? Do you understand the charges against you? And I think the defense really wasn't asking for that mental evaluation. The judge decided to go ahead and do that. They're really asking for an evaluation on responsibility or sanity at the time of the offense. Now that's different. That's simply, do you know right from wrong at the time you committed the crime? Or did you suffer from some mental disease or defect or diminished capacity due to emotional distress? So it looks to me
Okay, so do you all think he suffered from a mental illness at the time that he shot the judge? Of course not. Of course not. Like, like y'all let me know if I'm off. What do y'all think? Do you think Mickey Stines was suffering from a mental illness or any type of mental instability at the time he shot Judge Mullins? Seriously. I listen. I love justice, but come on, man. There's nothing about this that says you did not know what you were doing.
Like the defense was asking to go straight to the responsibility at the time of the crime part of it. The judge decided to go on ahead and also have him evaluated for competency now to stand trial. So they're two different evaluations. The back and forth between the attorneys, it's kind of, you can see the beginnings of what we call the battle of the experts. The defense clearly thinks that KCPC evaluators are agents of the state and belong to the prosecution and will be considered to be prosecution experts. So what you heard from defense counsel was that they apparently have already gone ahead and retained their own mental health expert to do an evaluation. And when the prosecutor heard that, his response was, well, they need to go on ahead and do their evaluation and produce a report so that then our expert can review that report and do their own evaluation. And so that's what the prosecutor was asking for. The defense wanted the opposite. They wanted to have the evaluation done at KCPC and then let their expert review that and respond. So you kind of have a back and forth over who's going to have to go first. It sounds like the judge said, we're going to go on ahead and do the evaluations at KCPC for both competency and responsibility. So that's where it's headed. And a time frame, I would think 30 to 90 days, probably somewhere in there. They ought to be able to get that done.
All right, so you're hearing 30 to 90 days on the competency hearing. There's a question here, General, back to you. Why would the judge want the bond hearing in person? Other stuff has been on Zoom. Why specifically that in person?
If I'm defense counsel, I want the bond hearing in person. So, Zoom hearings are just not the best. And you're talking about whether or not the defendant will be given a bond and have an opportunity to bail out. And the judge may want to hear from him, and this judge may decide I need to see people in person to really judge credibility. When I hear from witnesses, he's anticipating he's going to hear some proof, some testimony or proof of some sort. So I understand the judge would want to do that in person so he can weigh the credibility of whatever witnesses are called.
Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
You're obviously seeing a picture of Sheriff Stines there from the Friday hearing. This is a Zoom with the husband and wife defense team, and then Kevin Mullins on the right. This, just to bring everyone up to date for those who are new to the story, this is probably one of the crazier stories that I've covered in recent years. That is the sheriff in the plain clothes, notably not in his uniform, pointing a weapon, which he then fired 8 rounds into Judge Kevin Mullins. He's actually kind of smiling. That is the last moment of his life right there. And then obviously you see the response to the shooting in Whitesburg, Kentucky there, bottom left. So a lot to unpack. We're going to go through this step by step today, and there's some interesting developments for sure. But Elizabeth, Hillbilly Crime, to you, anything new that you've uncovered that you're willing to share before we get back? I want to get back to this hearing after that, and then we'll get to some other important information.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing that they had in the newspaper that I did not hear in the hearing was the discovery that they have. I did hear in the hearing that they, as far as the way that I understood it, they've already turned over all of the discovery. But in the paper, it said that the prosecutors have turned over more than 2,400 pages of evidence, 329 audio files, 234 video files, and 11 photographs to the defense, as well as transcripts of the grand jury testimony, computer hard drive, and several spreadsheets.
General, that's obviously your wheelhouse. Is that a lot of evidence? Typical, discovery, a lot of discovery, average? Where do you put it?
That's a pretty fair amount of discovery. It sounds about right for a case of this gravity. Yeah.
So just going back, and again, I apologize because my iPad is not working, so I'm going off the phone here with my notes. But the defense arguments, Jeremy Bartley is the defense attorney along with his wife. They want this defense expert to be able to testify in court on his behalf after, or at least during the process of this psychiatric evaluation. General Mark, if you had to guess, obviously it's their own expert. Is this going to play to some sort of defense that he had some sort of breakdown, nervous breakdown, something along those lines, and just snapped in that moment?
That's what I would expect. Yes. And the fact that they went straight to that very quickly, they're still in the discovery phase, and they've already gotten a mental health expert and are asking for an evaluation specifically for responsibility. So they don't appear to have any concerns that the sheriff doesn't understand the proceedings against him. They're going straight to what was his mental state at the time of the offense. And I would expect that they have intentionally hired an expert that they think will be favorable, or has in the past produced evaluations that are deemed to be favorable towards defendants. And sometimes you see kind of this cottage industry of mental health experts getting involved in homicide cases, death penalty cases. They can charge for their evaluations, their courtroom testimony, the time they spend looking into the case. So there's typically in every state, you're going to have a group of these mental health experts. Some are viewed to be more favorable to the prosecution, some maybe more so for the defense. So there's some of that going on. I hadn't heard who the expert is yet.
By the way, if anyone is out there who is from this area of Kentucky and you want to speak anonymously, again, speaking to several people just today, as recently as today. So and there is John Tompkins, criminal defense attorney out of great state of Indiana, who's done work. Welcome, John. There's a little bit of ambient noise coming on your end, John, so I'm going to have you keep yourself muted unless you're talking, if that's okay. But if anyone is out there from this area of Kentucky who wants to speak to us, anonymously or on the record, whatever your choice is, you can email us, survivingthesurvivor@gmail.com, survivingthesurvivor@gmail.com. Again, this is one of the more interesting stories that I have covered in recent years. General Mark, back to you. The Commonwealth's attorney raised concerns about the defense's approach. They want the defense expert to submit a report before the KCPC proceeds with the evaluation. They want clarity on the issues they're saying being raised by the defense. Is this a standard operating procedure? What is really going on? I mean, obviously this is lawyering, probably 101, but what's happening here, behind the scenes? Yeah,
the Commonwealth here is doing pretty much what we would do if the defense comes into court and says, Judge, we need to get an evaluation done. We've already hired an expert. If I'm the prosecutor for the Commonwealth, I'm going to ask the judge to have them go ahead and do their evaluation, produce their expert report, which they're required to turn over to the prosecution. If you have an expert who produces an expert report, you have to turn that over to the state so they can review it and possibly have their own expert do their own evaluation. So the state is asking that the defense take the first bite at this apple, go ahead and get their report done. Then the prosecution can review it and talk about getting their own expert if they feel they need to. So each side kind of wants the other one to go first.
And hillbilly crime. This question was up here. Has there been or was there a substance screening, I presume, for Sheriff Mickey Stines within the 30 days? Do we happen to know that if he was tested, any kind of toxicology report, anything along those lines?
Well, I don't know if they went and did it later, but the night that this happened, me and a girlfriend of mine went down there to the courthouse and we saw the former jailer outside and we spoke to him and I asked that very question. Are they taking him for a tox screen? And he said no, that they were taking him straight to the jail. So
he never went to the hospital. I remember, okay, I gotta keep it real. I remember when I got pulled over and I had to go to jail, they took me to the hospital first to make sure I didn't have any type of diseases or anything, or if I had COVID or anything. Then I still had to go to the tank and meet the magistrate the next morning to determine my court hearing. And so I'm trying to figure out how this man can, and I got arrested for less. I'm trying to figure out how this man was able to get arrested for this, never go to the hospital, never get evaluated, go straight to jail. How? How did that happen?
They did not take him to the hospital after this happened. I don't know if they did it later or not, but that day it didn't happen.
John, welcome to the show. Good to have you back here on Surviving the Survivor. Just so you know, you're here joined by General Mark Davidson, who's an acting DA out of Tennessee, rural Tennessee, and then you've got Elizabeth Jones, who runs Hillbilly Crime, the YouTube channel. She's been on this story. But the latest news, and we're going to get into some developments that I've learned from sources who are close to this, multiple sources that have reached out or I've been in touch with as recently as today. But the issue at hand on Friday, John, was the KCPC, which is a Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center. Basically, they're going to run an evaluation. The defense said that they want their expert witness involved in this. The state says not so fast. You need to submit a report as to why. The judge ordered to proceed with the competency and criminal responsibility orders, but deferred decisions on the timing and participation to a later date. So what is your take on all this? This is obviously the beginning steps where they want to see what was going on or what is going on with this sheriff. Why did he seemingly have some sort of meltdown and just shoot and kill this judge?
Well, I think I'll echo some of what the general had to say. It is normal for both sides to disclose experts. Now, the order, it deals with really two issues: competency, which is generally considered, are you okay now? Can you participate in the process? Do you understand how it works? Can you assist in your defense? And culpability or responsibility for the crime. So at the time of the crime, were you aware of the wrongfulness of your acts? There appear to be two different questions. In terms of the prosecutor, I won't say for sure opposing the defense expert, but wanting the defense expert qualified. I think that's a fair question. Who do you want to send in here? What are their qualifications if they are going to be assessing the evaluation or observing it versus doing it themselves? That's a fair question. Trying to prevent the defense from having their own set of eyes and ears to observe that protocol and process, and whether it is administered correctly is another matter. They should be open to having someone from the defense present. I think it's fair to say we want somebody who's qualified present.
There you go. Someone who's qualified. That makes a whole lot of sense. But Hillbilly Crime, Elizabeth Jones, to you, what's the mood in Letcher County? I got to tell you, the people that I talk to sort of echo some of the same sentiments, that it is definitely, and I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, small town America. There's a lot of fearfulness, a lot of trepidation about speaking because of possible repercussions and or threats. So I guess what's the mood like, since the last time we talked in Letcher County? Are you feeling comfortable being able to report on this? Are you personally worried?
Well, I think it would be careless to say that, that you're not worried. Retaliation is a serious concern. I'm not too.
Yo, retaliation is a serious concern in Kentucky, man. Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Concerned for myself. I don't drink. I don't drink and drive. So I'm not out running around the roads. I'm not out, committing risky behaviors for them to then come after me, and none of them own my home. They don't employ me, so I have a little bit more ability to speak, whereas a whole lot of other people who would like to speak on this subject, but they might be on probation or, have some kind of situation like that keeps them, pretty fearful of speaking out.
Mark, what about this? I mean, we're getting to the issue of bond. So again, they want a separate bond hearing. Brosmith here saying, who thinks that this new judge is going to give bond to a defendant for killing a judge? Good question. I mean, it's, obviously they have the same occupation, this judge and the other judge. Is he going to be particularly protective, or is he going to be judicious? What are the chances here of bond?
I would think pretty low. That this is a homicide. It's not a whodunit. We know who committed this crime. There's a video evidence that everybody's seen. It's pretty shocking. It appears to be deliberate and calculated. So I would think the judge would consider the sheriff to be a danger to himself or others. Public safety risk, probably. Not so sure about what the proof might be on whether or not he's a flight risk. But I would think the judge would be disinclined. And you also have the fact that a previous judge already considered bond, ordered him held without bond. That's an issue. I think the judge would probably be looking for what has changed since that last hearing, what circumstances changed that would make him more eligible for bond today than he was then. And then you also have the factor of the possibility that this could be a capital case, which in Tennessee you can be held without any bond at all if it's a capital case. So the possibility of that probably also goes against him getting a bond.
Yeah. Jen, I'm going to come back to you on this one because this is sort of in your wheelhouse. Yeah, I was born in Southeast Kentucky. I bet the sheriff is counting on his longtime standing as a good old boy. You always hear about that, not just in rural areas, but I worked in TV news, and there was a good old boy network amongst the executives for a very long time. But is this true? In your part of Tennessee, in this part of Kentucky, that there is still this good old boy network where they watch out for each other's, take each other's back?
Well, it's a rural county, and the sheriff of a rural county, it's pretty common that they know just about everybody. So trying a case in Letcher County, I don't know if there's going to be a motion to change venue filed or not, or if there has been. I would expect one, frankly, given how rural this county is and how much publicity this case has generated. But the question on a good old boy network, I think really in terms of these proceedings, what the concern might be is that you're going to get somebody or maybe several people on the jury who know the sheriff or know somebody that knows the sheriff and don't really disclose what type of relationship that is, and they can shoot for jury nullification and just call this a killing that for whatever reason, it was so bad and such bad actions on the part of the judge. I do expect him to put the judge on trial and try to get somebody just to say, I'm not going to find him guilty. So I think that's kind of what that question is going at. And there is some risk in a really rural county that everybody knows everybody. So I would not be surprised to see an effort to get this case moved out of Letcher County.
Yeah, and it seems like it might be heading that way. John, to you in Indianapolis, the defense already sort of indicated that they're going to use some sort of emotional disturbance defense, that something was bothering him. First of all, I mean, how is that different, I guess, than an insanity defense? And is that their best option in your view?
Well, the difference between an insanity defense and what I'm going to call maybe a heat of passion defense is an insanity defense is a defense of innocence. He shouldn't be held responsible because he didn't appreciate the wrongfulness of his act. A heat of passion defense is a defense of culpability. This was not a knowing and intentional killing. It was done in the heat of passion or when someone was so overwhelmed by emotion or fear that they were not in full control of themselves. So that would lower, in Indiana, it would lower a charge for murder to voluntary manslaughter, for instance. Voluntary manslaughter has a much lower penalty range, but it is not a not guilty. Now you can try to swing for a home run there and say, well, the state charged this as a murder. You can't convict him of any other crime. We've shown you it wasn't murder. It was voluntary manslaughter. So you have no choice but to acquit because the state overreached here. That's a risky defense. a lot of defense attorneys would go for the middle ground and say, look, we're going to ask for that lesser. We're going to ask the jury to be allowed to convict of the lesser, and try to just get off the murder. But that's the difference between a culpability defense, heat of passion, again, that's the Indiana term, and an insanity. Didn't understand the wrongfulness of the act.
Yeah. And by the way, and what about this, Elizabeth? You know, the sources I'm talking to are telling me this was not heat of passion crime, that this was something that had been brewing, that's something that had been bothering Sheriff Stines, and he took things into his own hands. Are you hearing the same thing in terms of it not being heat of passion here? Also, there was a person here, I think it was Linda Mon, who wanted to know, you know, sort of what the latest talk is at the water cooler in Letcher County. But first to the point, you know, that I was just asking about.
Well, the greasy spoon. I had to look that up. I didn't know what that meant. I think that it really is looking like the mental health aspect. So a couple of things that I've been able to track down is that apparently it was true that he was not living at home right before this happened. I don't know how long he had been gone, but I think it was more than just the one night. By
the way, if I can just.
Okay, before we get into this mental health thing, let me tell you something. There's a difference between a mental health issue and a mental breakdown. If he had a mental breakdown, that's one thing. A mental health issue is most likely diagnosed. So he hasn't been diagnosed with anything. He could have had a mental breakdown. And if you go from that aspect, then you can unpack the state of his mind at that time when you incorporate his personal life. He got put out of his house. He has marital issues and all those things. You can have a mental breakdown. That doesn't mean you are mentally diagnosed with something or have a mental health issue. Totally different. It's totally different. I've had a mental breakdown before in my life. In the other stage of my life before, I've had a mental breakdown. I'm being transparent. And I was able to bounce back from that by the grace of God. That doesn't mean that I have a mental issue. You see what I'm saying? If I had a mental issue, I couldn't do this. So I don't know. I'm not buying the mental issue aspect of this whole thing. That's just me. So that's all. Let's continue.
Jump in there. I heard that he was not at home for at least 5 nights, and that things were kind of not going well in the marriage. But continue on.
Oh, I heard more like 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks he had been gone. But regardless, he and remind me again, Joel, what was your first question? I'm sorry.
What was my first question? I don't know. We'll come back to it. I have short-term memory loss. But here's another one from Violet. To you, Elizabeth. What's the mood amongst the Letcher County Sheriff's deputies? That's an interesting question. Have you seen them out and about? Are they supporting Mickey Stines? Are they running from him? Do you get a sense of that?
Well, I think that, everybody was friends. I have spoken to someone that's kind of in that circle quite a bit lately. And, they said, Mickey was my friend. I watched him grow up. The judge was my friend. I've never seen him do anything like what they're accusing him of. So, it looks like the people, the officials that are in that circle, nobody's talking. Everybody's being quiet. Nobody's saying a word openly. I think everybody's kind of just waiting on the trial to see what happens.
Here's a person saying that they're from Kentucky and basically it's all about the money. They're all corrupt. I'm starting to get a sense that maybe there you go. The corruption runs as deep as the coal mines. To you, John, I mean, I know that's not your area of expertise, but
this is what Sapphire Ridge talking about, the corruption.
Comes in and says, I'm afraid to come forward because everyone in this small town is corrupt. What can you do about something like this?
Well, there are 2 avenues that you can pursue. One, you can go to a state bureau of investigation. So in Indiana, it's the Indiana State Police. You get out of the local county and you get to a general jurisdiction. You get to people who aren't from that county. You also have the option of going potentially to a U.S. Attorney's office or to the FBI and seeking an independent investigation through those means. But if you, as the attorney, have some of those same concerns about the local authorities, then you just go to an arguably neutral law enforcement agency to get that information, if it's critical information to the investigation, to the right people so they can act on it.
Yeah. John, I'm just going to ask you to.
You can also.
Man, I'm in Indiana, bro. What? What? All right. Okay. Okay. If you say so. I've been in the tank. All right. I've been in the tank and talked to a lot of dudes in the tank. Man, what he talking about is it must be designated for certain people. Because I'm telling you, I've been in the Indiana jail tank. What he talking about? Dudes would love that. But they would love that procedure. I don't think what he's saying is applicable to everyone. I think it's very more nuanced than what he's referring to. He's a criminal defense attorney, so I get why he's very, mundane on his actual, like, on the law part. But again, there's a good old boys network, and it's a whole network. It's a United States network. It ain't just a Southern thing. So just, I appreciate the lawyer, but yeah, I don't know about all that, bro. You know what I'm saying? So let's go.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You can also, as an attorney, go forward to the authorities. So if you trust the local authorities, but you understand your client's fear, you can go and say, the identity of my client's privileged. I cannot tell you who's telling me this, but here's some important information, or here's an important piece of evidence that was turned over to me, and then turn that over to the police that way.
There you go. So if you're listening, you can go to your attorney and ask your attorney to do it on your behalf. John, I'm just going to have you keep muting when you're not on, just because it's a bit of an audio gurgle. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I just wanted to comment on this too. A lot of people just don't have the trust in any of the agencies. In Hazard, Perry County, it's about 30 miles from us. It's a neighboring county. A while back, the FBI came in and conducted an investigation on the Commonwealth attorney for Perry County. He was apparently addicted to methamphetamine himself. He was coercing and threatening the people that he was supposed to be prosecuting. He was also sexually abusing and coercing men that he was supposed to be prosecuting. He ended up being charged with honest services fraud. He didn't get charged with the sexual abuse. He didn't get charged, which is basically the big R word, what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He didn't get charged with making these people bring him drugs and give them to him. And then he was also making these people let him perform sex acts on them or vice versa. And all he was charged with was honest services fraud, and he got 4.5 years. And that was through the FBI. So we can understand why the people in this area, feel like they don't have anywhere to turn and they don't have anywhere to go, because I can guarantee you several people have already contacted those agencies and nothing gets done. They don't believe you.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's come from someone that lives there. By the way, Elizabeth talked about this last time. She, at one point, like many people, sadly, in this part of the country, had an addiction. Was it opioids?
Yep.
Elizabeth? Yeah, and was able to get herself completely clean. So kudos to her.
Shout
Everyone
out to
there
is
as lucky as her. And that leads to this question, where the deputies involved in putting pressure on the victims. We're going to get to that because there's a part in one of the lawsuits that reveals some of this. One victim passed. That's Jennifer Hill. Do we know how? I'm being told it was a drug overdose.
So, yeah, okay. So Jennifer Hill is the other young lady that was a part of the Sabrina Atkins. She was the other witness besides Sabrina Atkins, and she had passed away before this entire situation got to the place where it got to right now. So let's continue to take a look at this.
But it's interesting because she may have held the keys to some answers. Anything about that, Elizabeth, and any more information, or is it still determined to be a drug overdose?
Well, I think that's very concerning myself, because we see so much in the world today how foul play can be involved in something like that. And as far as we know, it's just been considered an overdose, and that's the end of it. I think that there should be some investigation into that myself.
Yeah, and maybe there will be as a result of the story. But COE, to you, can we pull up the sheriff's behavior leading up to the shooting? She used it. Okay, so this is some more information about Shawn Mickey Stines the day before the shooting. Unusual behavior, acting erratic. He told the Mountain Eagle Reporter, which is a paper of record in Letcher County, that he lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks, deleted all his social media, his official Facebook page, told others he was nervous his social media pages would be used against him. John, I know you're not a psychologist, but you're a criminal defense attorney, and it looks like this guy was experiencing some level of paranoia, or at least fear. How do you interpret this?
Well, I think he's on a path to losing it. It would appear, whether he's delusional and imagining these things, or this might be the good old boys working in reverse. In other words, he was in the good old boys, and now all of a sudden he's worried he's on the outs and he needs to protect himself, and he's worried about that network turning against him. And then why would he be worried about that? I mean, this is something that the defense, I'm sure, is investigating, and they have access to him directly, so they can ask him questions.
We talked about that. We did mention that he was probably doing well in the good old boys network up until he was like, you know what, I can't do this no more. And now everybody like, you better do this. Otherwise, it's gonna be a problem. So this is something. Again, it's a back and forth. It's a tennis match. This whole case is a tennis match.
And get answers to get to the bottom of that before anyone probably.
Yeah, and Mark, on the flip side, since you're the prosecutor in rural Tennessee for 5 counties, what about the flip side of that? What's the state, what's the government doing here to try to find out what was going on with this sheriff in the days leading up to this murder that was all captured on camera?
Yeah, when you look at the video and you look at the timeline kind of leading up to the shooting where they're going out to lunch together, it's clear that the sheriff is under some stress. I think the state's theory might be that he had already developed the intent to kill the judge that was weighing on him, whatever the motive ends up being. We'll learn more about that at trial. But that these are symptoms of the process he's going through is because he's a sheriff, he's a chief law enforcement officer in the county. He's supposed to be doing the right thing. And it seems pretty clear that this was a planned, premeditated, calculated killing. And if I'm the prosecution, I'm probably going to argue that there's some evidence here in his activity or behavior the days before that indicates that this is all going through his head.
Yeah, it appears he is melting down. But again, I got to tell you, the people I've spoken to say that this was actually a long time coming, and that it was likely very deliberate and not a heat of the moment sort of and the heat of passion moment. You got on this picture on the right here, you see him even crouching down. But someone talking about the smoking, this is something that comes up on the shows. In his right hand, you do see a cigarette, and sources I talked to say they're still smoking to this day, even though it is illegal. I guess another point about small town courthouses work, I guess, the way they want to work. John, to you, a criminal defense attorney, this is your client, and here is photos. We're not playing the video. There is video, but we've chosen not to play it here because it's pretty triggering. I saw someone mention there's no blood. No blood that we can see. I'm sure that there was plenty of blood around here. But John, this is your client. Hypothetically, these images are really hard to overcome. This guy calls you. What are you? How are you proceeding forward?
Well, I'll start. I'll mention your comment on the blood. So, and it's just some nuts and bolts about homicides. When you're dead, your heart stops beating and you stop bleeding. So if you're hit in the heart with a bullet, there's not going to be a whole lot of blood at that crime scene. I would say on this, I see that bottom middle picture and there's not a gun drawn. It's not unusual for a sheriff to carry a firearm. So whereas a civilian in a courthouse with a gun might indicate he entered with the intent to use that gun, that you can't draw that same inference from a law enforcement.
Even though right here his gun is not drawn, but why is his hands up? See, this guy is a criminal defense attorney, right? So he's going to look for every particular detail that could tow away the idea of guilt. We get that. Even I said the man didn't draw his weapon in the office, but his hand is up right now. So that means that this man pulled the weapon and had it on the side of him, and he saw it and was like, whoa, dog. What you doing? You got your gun out. Your gun is out, but it ain't pointed. So him using this is why I would not hire him as my defense attorney, because this man right here, standing here without a gun being pointed. Again, this man's hands is up. Bruh, that man got his gun out. That's the only reason why this man's hand is up. And he's smoking a cigarette. Which means that they do whatever they want to do. But his hands are up, bruh. Which means that this man pulled out his firearm. He didn't point it yet. This is where he pointed it. He already had it out right here. See, prosecution would get him on this. I know I would. Yo, this dude firearm is drawn. It ain't pointed. Why you think his hands is up? This man right here pointed the firearm, hand still up, just like it is right here, with a cigarette in his hand. So this dude right here talking crazy right now, because you ain't gonna be able to use that, bro.
Gun drawn. It's not unusual for a sheriff to carry a firearm. I see that bottom middle picture and there's not a gun drawn. it's not unusual for a sheriff to carry a firearm. So whereas a civilian in a courthouse with a gun might.
It's not unusual for a sheriff to carry a firearm, but the man is not dressed. And on top of that, we just had lunch. And initially, when the conversation started, his gun wasn't drawn up until now. Up until right here. So you're not making sense right now, bro.
Might indicate he entered with the intent to use that gun. That you can't draw that same inference from a law enforcement officer entering with a gun. So we don't know just because he had a gun that he walked into even that office intending to use the gun, and then he doesn't walk in apparently with the gun drawn. Don't make the mistake of assuming that heat of passion means instantaneous ignition. It can be a slow boil that boils over. So the confrontation that started with him entering the office may not have been a deadly confrontation, but it may have become deadly. That's when the heat of passion, you really have to hone in with your client on as much as you can about the details that he remembers. Why did he go there? Did he tell anyone why he was going there? Had he sent any communications to the judge and said, I just want to get this ironed out? Imagine if the digital that they pull on him says, hey, judge, I want to come in, bury the hatchet, make sure everything's okay. Well, that swings this whole case in a heartbeat, because then what happened? What was the judge's reaction that caused this extreme activity and a homicide? A homicide. We don't know if it's a murder yet. I'm being nitpicky about the words, but I'm a defense attorney. It's clearly a homicide. Is it voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, murder? We just don't know yet. And that's where I want to go with these pictures, because again, we have a picture up there right now where he doesn't have his firearm drawn. What caused him to draw the firearm? He did not walk in there.
It's drawn already. This man is crazy. It's already drawn because his hands is up, bruh. He's the worst defense attorney ever right now. Bro, his gun ain't drawn. Now, why is this man hands up? You think his hands up because this man's t-shirt or his polo shirt is a color that he really wants? No. The man hands is up because his gun is already out, bro. Talking about his gun ain't drawn. It's drawn. This is the response to it being drawn. Anybody with common sense will understand that. See, it don't look like it's drawn. But until you see this dude, you like, oh, this dude drew that weapon, bro.
There with the drawn, we can't assume he walked in there to use it.
That's interesting, and I did not know that. So heat of passion doesn't mean in that instant, but it could be leading up to it. Here's another graphic, and this is going to be the part of the show where there's going to be some newer, probably more interesting information to the public writ large, as they say. So here, the day of the shooting, what we know happened. Judge Mullins and Sheriff Stines had lunch together with a handful of people. And by the way, sources telling me that it was not a very jovial lunch. Like they were not getting along,
a good lunch.
Prior reports have indicated. Sheriff Stines goes to the judge's chamber. 2:55 p.m. on September 19th, police respond to shots fired. 5 minutes later, Sheriff Mickey Stines is arrested. Detective Clayton Stamper testified that he was told Sheriff Stines called his daughter on his phone, then on Judge Kevin Mullins' phone prior to the shooting. Stamper said Stines' daughter's phone number was stored on Mullins' phone. This is interesting because some of the sources that I talked to basically say they don't think that the sheriff's daughter is really a big part of this story, but you keep hearing this coming up. And the innuendo, the implication is that maybe there was some kind of illicit relationship going on between Judge Kevin Mullins and the daughter. So Hillbilly Crime, this is you. Anything, I know you're interested in this too. Anything further on this about, why he may have called his daughter from Judge Mullins' phone? Anything about the daughter at all that the public should know?
To me, I think that it's a red herring. I don't think that that there was any relationship between the judge and Mickey's daughter. They have come out pretty soon right after this happened and said that that was not true. Like that rumor just took off like wildfire. And I think it was just because of that phone call. But, to me, it might even go to the premeditation of it. Was he calling her to talk to her one last time before this happened?
Yeah, that was.
Man, I think that wife got some. Call her for one last call. Nah, man. Nah. From the judge's phone. Let me guess. I'm the father. And I'm going to call the judge's phone to have that one last conversation with my daughter from his phone. Stop it. Stop it.
It's going to be my next question. So, yeah. So why? I mean, it seems kind of weird to just call your daughter and say, "Hey, I'm
Good
about to
night,
be arrested
Phil.
for
Appreciate
murder."
you.
I mean, you think that could have been it?
I don't know.
I put deep in the chat.
She does not know. Okay. So, Mickey Stines, former sheriff, he's then forced to resign. Judge Mullins' bailiff. He was Judge Mullins' bailiff for a very long time. 2018, he's first elected as sheriff. 2019, he is sued by former Letcher County deputy for retaliation for campaigning against him. 2022, a lawsuit filed alleging a Letcher County deputy sheriff offered "quote unquote" favorable treatment for sexual favors. Stines was listed as a defendant for allegedly failing to properly train the deputy sheriff, now facing murder charges. That deputy was convicted, but again, Elizabeth, he didn't spend too much time behind bars. Just refresh us on that part of the story. He was convicted again for having sex, forcible sex, with a woman in the judge's chamber.
Yeah, there was a civil suit filed by Ned Billersdorf, and on behalf of two of his victims. That civil suit is what brought them to start the criminal investigation into Benfield's. Well, then one of the women overdosed and died, so she went away from the criminal prosecution. He took a plea bargain only on the one victim. He got 6 years, 7 years. I think it was 7 total. He only had to serve 6 months in jail, and they let him serve his 6 months in the Letcher County Jail. And I found out a little bit more detailed information about that. The reason why he was given so many privileges is because they made him a trustee. As soon as he came in to serve his time, they made him a trustee, which gave him special privileges.
Mark, what do you make of that? That he made him a trustee? I never even heard of that. To give this guy some kind of privilege behind bars. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's a trustee, TRUSTY, not the trustee of the county. That's still pretty common practice in rural areas where some sheriffs will choose to designate some inmates as trustees or trustworthy enough to be let out to mow the grass or paint the facility or do repairs. Or we actually still see some of that in the Department of Corrections at a few facilities. Can be a dangerous practice, and typically that's just up to the sheriff to decide who he thinks would be good to get out of their jail cell and put to some use around the facility. And for the inmate, they get a whole lot more freedom than the other inmates. They're out and about all day. So it's a pretty good gig to get if you're in the jail. And apparently that deputy, as part of that plea bargaining process, somehow managed to get himself housed in Letcher County and then become a trustee, which might have raised a few eyebrows. It seems like it did with Elizabeth.
Well, after you plead guilty to perjury for swearing out false escape warrants on the women that you are coercively raping, I don't think that makes you much of a trustworthy person in my.
I never heard of this trustee, the TRUSTY, but you learn something new every day, and it appears that he was entrusted, and that's again why this deputy who was convicted of this forcible sex inside the judge's chamber was released after it was supposed to be like a 6-year sentence, and it ended up being much shorter. Elizabeth, to you, everyone keeps asking, was there audio? As far as we know, there was no audio on that video of him shooting and killing Judge Kevin Mullins. Is there?
Not that we know of, no. I was told yesterday that camera's been in there for 2 years. It was placed in by the DOJ after Benfield's investigation was concluded. And so Mickey knew that camera was there if it's there for 2 years.
Yeah. Someone's asking if he left his house on his own volition. I think the wife tossed him out of that house. Here's information on Judge Kevin Mullins, obviously 54 years old. For 8 years, he was assistant Commonwealth attorney. 2009, former Governor Steve Beshear, whose son Andy is now the governor, appointed Mullins as a district judge, handled juvenile cases, misdemeanors, traffic offenses, small claims, arraignments, cases involving domestic violence. And you see Shawn Mickey Stines was Mullins' bailiff before he became sheriff in 2018. One of the sources explaining that if and this is important, if Judge Mullins was up to no good, it would have reflected really poorly on the former governor and the current governor, because it was the father who appointed this judge. And so that was is another concern regarding the judge and any kind of potentially damning information that comes out on him. Now, this next part is also really interesting. COE, do you have the ARC full screen? Here we go. So now it's a little complicated. We're going to break it down. So there is, we know, an ongoing FBI investigation into something called Addiction Recovery Care. The acronym is ARC. It is a for-profit company based in Louisa, Kentucky. CEO and affiliates are and big political donors. Over 30 treatment centers in Kentucky. Again, Kentucky has one of the highest, if not the highest, rate of opioid use in the country. Substance abuse cases in Letcher County are all referred to ARC. And again, the FBI is investigating ARC for healthcare fraud. What's interesting here, sources have told me, Elizabeth, and I'm going to get the attorney's take on this, that both Kevin Mullins, Judge Kevin Mullins and Sheriff Mickey Stines, that both of them are actually connected in a way to ARC. The CEO there, the founder, the owner, is a guy named Tim Robinson. And Tim Robinson has a right-hand man, a guy named Michael Clark. And Michael Clark knows both of them. So do we know anything about beyond that?
What is going on, bro? What is going on?
About a connection between Tim Robinson, the guy who runs and is now being investigated for healthcare fraud, aka stealing money. Do we know anything about the connection between him, his right-hand man, and this apparent relationship that the right-hand man has with both the judge and the sheriff?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So Michael Clark and I are both from the same town. So I have known him or known of him for a very long time. He got out of prison on his last trafficking charge. And so he had quite a history of drug trafficking charges. And he ended up working for ARC. I'm not sure what his official title was, but Tim Robinson here, the ARC CEO, just a little juicy tidbit. He is also an attorney by trade. So
the man is an attorney and okay.
He's very knowledgeable about the laws and stuff. But Michael became some kind of a middleman for the court system here in Letcher County. And he was also a preacher, which Tim Robinson also became a preacher after he started ARC. And Michael Clark was pretty much based at the courthouse. He was there all the time. And he was responsible for getting the defendants their beds in rehab. So whenever someone would go in front of Judge Mullins, then I guess it was Michael's job to get an open bed for them. And then a lot of people were also driven to the rehab by the sheriff's department. So they were all very connected.
Yeah. General, to you and then to John on this. So this is getting a little complicated, and it shows you kind of the I guess the close-knit nature of such a small community here. But so, Mark, again, separately, you've got this big addiction recovery business in Kentucky now being investigated by the feds for healthcare fraud, aka again steal.
Okay, so this is the federal investigation part that has been mentioned, and I know a couple of times from my research that some things were mentioned. But this is really crazy. If this has anything to do with the tie of this case in any way, this is way deeper than what we thought. Way deeper.
Stealing money. Guy runs that place. This guy here, Tim Robinson, you heard, former attorney, a preacher. Well, his right-hand man, again, is a guy named Michael Clark, who, as you heard, is also a preacher. I've learned that a lot of preachers in Kentucky, but I've learned that this guy, Michael Clark, was at the courthouse with Mickey Stines the day that Mickey Stines shot and killed Judge Mullins. And this guy, Clark, and Elizabeth, you can fill in the gaps here. He posted something on social media that has been like cachet that people have seen, saying you're going to be absolutely shocked, something to the effect of you're going to be absolutely shocked when the truth comes out. It was later deleted from TikTok, and TikTok deleted itself for a little while. That's a whole other story. But then he apparently left his ministry and got out of Dodge. He's no longer either in Letcher County and or Kentucky altogether. So, Mark, how does this complicate the matter that you've got this organization that was taking care of the people that Judge Mullins was putting away in recovery, now in the middle of this being investigated by the feds, and apparently someone from that organization connected very closely to the judge and the sheriff? Getting kind of crazy here.
Yeah, that's something that we see as well in our district and in other districts in West Tennessee, rural districts. It's not uncommon for a treatment provider to make itself available to the court to do this kind of service, to take in defendants who have substance abuse issues and need treatment. That's pretty common. And actually what you're seeing happen here in Letcher County is pretty typical. These recovery centers will put people in the courtroom and they will build these relationships with the judge, with the sheriff, with the state or the prosecution, and kind of position themselves as the go-to de facto substance abuse recovery option for the court. It can even get to the point where if you have what we call a recovery court, if the judge in this case had some type of drug court or recovery court or something that looked like that, he would employ somebody from ARC probably in some capacity to be a court.
Well, it says alleged ARC ripping off the government, Medicare and Medicaid, yet making major donations to governors and lieutenant governor campaign. Wow.
Coordinator, possibly.
Wow.
So you develop these very tight relationships. And we had a sheriff get in trouble here in Tennessee who was doing something similar and was farming his inmates out to a related recovery center where they were being put to work. And the sheriff was charging them for being housed at the recovery center while he was also getting paid by the state of Tennessee because they're supposed to be in prison. And that's the allegation. I'm not saying that that's what was going on here in Letcher County, right, but it can lead to this opportunity for fraud or abuse. Not sure what the FBI is looking at. Don't know if the judge was involved in any kind of kickback scheme or anything like that. But when you have a business that kind of ingratiates itself into the court system and relies on the criminal defendants as its income, so to speak, you got to be careful about that.
Yeah, this is definitely getting more and more interesting for sure. From Mountain Woman, alleged ARC ripping off the government Medicare and Medicaid system, yet making major donations to governors and lieutenant governor campaigns. Dig deep. The obvious implication is maybe politicians are behind this, but we're on the level trying to figure out here what happened with this judge. FBI is investigating the centers and hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenues. You see there the COE putting that one up. But John, to you, this takes an interesting kind of plot twist with this. Now you've got this, because some of the allegations have been that the sheriff and or the judge were making, as you just heard General Mark say, making money off of criminal defendants who needed recovery help. So how does this sort of escalate the situation here? And if you're defending again, Sheriff Mickey Stines, what do you do with this information?
Well, first, it's kind of a leap to say that an FBI investigation into the CEO of ARC is somehow related to local grift or bribery.
I will. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll say that with a caveat that multiple sources telling us that they believe that is the case. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Right.
Sure. Well, the FBI, that's not healthcare fraud. So I've defended a lot of healthcare fraud cases. Healthcare fraud is when the ARC provider is billing for services they don't actually provide. So they make up patients, they bill for 10 patients, they only see 2. They have dummy files for people who don't exist, or they bill for service A, which pays $1,000 for each time they do that, versus service B, which is what they actually gave the patient, but service B only pays $50. That's welfare fraud. Bribery is something that could be investigated at state level. And it's after the money comes from welfare and from Medicaid and Medicare into ARC. And then if the owner of ARC is taking that money and bribing officials to keep the contract or to get more people put in his beds, I don't really see anything unusual in the fact that, and we actually have a version of this here in Marion County and throughout the state of Indiana. Marion County Jail has a representative from the local public hospital's recovery program in the jail screening people for beds. They don't pay any of the judges and they don't pay the sheriff, but they have to speak to the judges to say this is an appropriate candidate or this is not an appropriate candidate, or here's how they're doing on their recovery, or they're not showing up for the recovery you ordered. So them being in the courtroom is not unusual at all. They're in the actual jail doing the screenings for eligibility and the insurance checks to see if they're covered to be able to get a bed. And they have to coordinate with the sheriff for those transports or for the releases. The sheriff will be ordered to hold that inmate for release until the drug recovery program can come over and escort them to the facility so they're not out on the street by themselves, which no one would want, with an order, a piece of paper saying go into drug treatment, and I hope you don't run into a drug dealer on the way. So the sheriff will transport them to that drug program. So those things, now, obviously, nobody's supposed to be taking kickbacks on that. If there's evidence of a kickback, that doesn't sound like a welfare fraud investigation.
Maybe I can clear that up a little bit. Apparently, what they have been, what the allegations have been, is that once people leave the rehab, their insurance was continuing to be billed, or they were billing for one service and not providing it to their patients. So, and I listened to the podcast that I got yesterday, and in the podcast, it says that ARC found an overpayment or an overcharge where they had overcharged somebody and that they had self-reported that. And according to the podcast, that was kind of where this investigation kicked off at. It was a self-report.
Interesting, because it's some of the comments. What does the FBI say? They're not going to say anything. The FBI, the feds don't talk. Lee Miller here with a comment. If the FBI was involved, did they just leave it? Bro Smith here, Mark. It's like they're investigating themselves. Is it? I mean, if you now have the feds coming in to investigate what's going on. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, did you have a comment?
Well, yeah. Another part of this, which is it's just a mess. It is like a soap opera, somebody said on there. Tim Robinson actually went to law school with our Kentucky Attorney General. So that's why our Attorney General's office had to recuse themselves from the Medicaid fraud investigation, because they're all real good. They're college buddies. They're college roommates. And so that's why the AG's office is out of that. Now, the FBI, when they came out with this investigation and announced it, they've also got a form that they have requested anybody that has any knowledge, or if you feel like you went through the ARC program and maybe you didn't get services that you were billed or whatever, they're asking anybody that has any information to fill out that form for the FBI.
By the way, if you guys out there,
man, look, yo, I'm gonna stop it right here, guys. Listen, this is absolutely insane. This is Good Old Boys 2.0. All right. And based on what we're actually experiencing here with all of this newfound information and newfound like allegations and stuff like this again, that's the higher ups I'm thinking about. It goes all the way up to the CEO of the insurance company of ARC. addiction recovery care. It goes all the way up to that and the counterpart to that, who is also a person who went to college with someone else. That's the attorney general for this. Like, all of this stuff is connected. So what Mickey Stines did has exposed more of what has been going on from the actual higher ups. This is what I'm talking about. That's a higher up to me. This Tim Robinson dude, Michael Clark, these are higher ups. And they are the ones that are doing some things that's directly connected to what's going on in Letcher County, but they have been able to skate and leave no DNA or no evidence for a long time until probably now. FBI investigations ain't no joke. The FBI is investigating this whole entire thing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yo, don't even get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. This is not what you think it is. This is deeper than what it is. I can't wait until this trial is over. I'm telling you, till this trial starts, I can't wait. There's going to be so much more evidence or discovery, I would say, to come through. I am subscribed to the Mountain Eagle. I'm definitely going to continue to stay abreast of this whole situation. Sapphire said it made me mad when the defense attorney was basically trashing Elizabeth because Elizabeth knows her stuff. She knows her stuff. She was a part of some of this stuff, not like in this level, but a part of what it is that when it comes to addiction and things like that, like where it can lead you, where it can go. And she knows exactly where it's at. So, yo, man, this has been a very interesting live, to say the least, man. Seriously. I'm definitely going to continue. We're going to continue to keep up with this whole situation. There is going to be a bond hearing. The bond hearing is going to be ex parte. So we won't be able to get any video footage of the bond hearing. However, if I get any information about the bond hearing, I'm definitely going to make sure that we get to this, that we get this information. Starfish said she has masters in criminology. Exactly. Right. Now, remember I asked y'all if y'all ever heard of tonight's conversation. I think tomorrow I'm going to probably do a live about tonight's conversation. We're going to unpack the breakup of this super viral and revered podcast crew. And we discovered some stuff. We have ran into some information. And so we're going to definitely give it to you guys. So look for me tomorrow. All right. Look for me tomorrow to go live, and we're going to talk about some things real quick, and we're going to get it in. I'm going to be live early because tomorrow is football. 3:00 is the NFC championship. 6:30 is the AFC championship. I'm going to go live early tomorrow before the game. After that, I'm all tied into football. Listen to me. All right. I love football. As a matter of fact, hopefully one day I will be a coach for football. I love the game. And let me tell you something. We definitely gonna be talking about tonight's conversation before football starts. So I just want to let you know that as well, because it's a lot to unpack with this whole thing. I got so many receipts, man. I got to stack it all up, and I'm gonna get up early, stack it up, and try to figure this out before we get started. All right, so it's a lot that's going on that is being revealed that wasn't revealed previously. So we're gonna get it in. But in the meantime, in between time, please love yourselves to the best of your ability. Love God first, love yourselves, and love your neighbor as thyself. And until then, this your boy Tay Biz. We about to sign off real quick. All right. Y'all have a good night. And I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.
Baby, I'm just too jiggy. Better know I brought that with me. Case they get too iffy. Baby, don't stress, don't sweat it. Put it all on my baby. Know how I'm coming. And they know what we hate. Around through that left side, low end. All of mine need more wins. If you got beef, don't come out. Cause my young hitter might go in. Uptown GN. Working all through my weekend. Hoping these don't show out. Cause all of my hitters too deep in. With a boy, I'm so ashamed. Ain't worried about long as my money and my green. Baby, I ain't got work tomorrow. Tell me what the business is. Ain't about no club hop. I'm trying to start some businesses. Shorty, you thought it was, they better know it's not that. Talking all that online, they knowing that it's not fake. Sliding through my hood, I make maneuvers like a Uber, baby. Got a 10-year plan, these can't tell what they doing lately. And I'm way too clean, I'm Listerine, I thought they been knew it. All in my lungs, I got my red cup full of that Henny fluid. Young middle Mac, I'm swinging that leg, I'm banging that do or die. And I ain't that Lily before I get crucified. Living in my bloodline, this place in my family tree. How the they pressed, I did my best out of what they handed me. Straight out of that country, know my shawty dick as human air. And I need not mention no extensions, that's human hair. Boy, we grew in there. Around through that left side, low